Okay, can you all see how beautiful the setup is right now, yo? All right. Hi, how are you?
I'm not too bad. Sorry, my lighting. I don't do anything well, so everything
I
is
don't do
just
anything well. We're like the same person right now because I
the
literally
lighting's just
Destiny
very
came on
bad.
my no, Destiny came on my show the other day to like lecture me about my lighting. He's like, you know, this curtain you have not gonna work, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
like great.
yeah, I know. That's what's happening right now. Is I got like the light from the curtain back there shining through. So I probably need. It's not even. I also my curtains are on one of those like tension rods, so you can still see the sides of them. But whatever, I don't really care.
Honestly, at this point, as long as our voices come through. So, guys in chat, I don't read the chat usually during my streams with people. So let me know really fast if the voice is okay. People are saying, "Damn, that voice though." Yes, yes. Papa Gut with his beautiful ASMR
That's
voice
the
coming through.
it's the only thing I've got going for me. So
I love that for you. I'm really excited. Do I call you Papa Gut?
that's fine. Yeah, unless you prefer not to. You
No,
can
no, no.
call.
I can call. I what?
My name is Dan, but you can call me. It doesn't really
Dan.
matter. Yeah, it's weird,
Okay,
but
whichever one you truly prefer, because I will just like learn to use
it
that preferred name.
it's hard to say because on the one hand, like yeah, I usually like to use my online name, but then on the other hand, it's weird to ask people to call me like Papa Gut. It's a bizarre thing, you know what I mean?
Yo, Poppy.
Yeah, yeah, right. So
All right.
it's something. Yeah, I guess Papa or Gut or something. I guess, but if you want to
I'll
use
call you
Dan,
Papa.
whatever you're
No, I don't mind Papa. I like it. It's kind of
whatever you're
sexy.
comfortable. Yeah, whatever you're
It's kind
comfortable with.
of okay. That works. Well, I'm very excited. Everyone's like Dan, and I'm like, yeah, his name is Papa though.
I know
Everybody,
it's weird, right? Dan is like bizarre.
it's just like such a sweet name, Dan. But versus
I
Papa
know.
Gut makes me sound like we're about to battle somehow in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So
Okay,
what?
so I'm so. Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead. So what's up? That's what I was only gonna say. I was gonna say what's up.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I don't. So basically, what happened was my audience was like, "Yo, do you know who Papa Gut is?" And I
Hmm.
was like, "I think so. Maybe I keep seeing this name around." I looked you up. I
Hmm.
saw that we covered similar stories, and then
Okay.
I mentioned you to my little brother, and he was like, "Shut up, Papa Gut." I've been watching Papa Gut since he had no subscribers, and then I was like,
Oh
"Okay."
man, what is
So
that on? What is that on TikTok?
no, I don't even know where he. Yeah, I guess it must be because he's
Okay.
obsessed. He's Gen Z, so he's TikTok and Twitch, but he watches gamers and streamers and commentary channels.
Okay, there you go. That
You
makes
know,
sense.
it's so funny because I'm on like the queer reaction, I am and preach like Destiny kind of like Cat Black side of YouTube, but then he's on
Okay.
the Logan, but I'm also on Logan Paul side, so he is too, and I think that's how we ended up overlapping. Maybe I
Okay.
don't know, but I'm excited to be here. Basically, what I want to do is I want to just have
Mhm.
a conversation with you about who you are.
Okay.
I want to talk to you, ask you some
I don't
questions about
know.
life,
Okay.
and people think you're. So I run a observational kind of like philosophy pop culture channel,
Okay.
and my channel is convinced you are very introspective. And so I was like, okay, so we're gonna talk to you today
Okay.
and put you on the spot if that's okay.
Yeah, good. No problem.
It's gonna
Let's.
be easy. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's well. Hopefully, it's easy because we're talking about me, so I should be okay with doing that. I should
Good.
be
I'm
educated enough on
excited.
that. Yeah.
Good.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm stoked. And also, I just will warn you right now, I'm Middle Eastern and I interrupt everyone. So this like talking over each other thing is just great. It's great.
Totally fine. I've had plenty of conversations where it devolved into a lot of yelling, so I'm sure you can't interrupt me more than anybody else.
Perfect. Okay, so first and foremost, like, I guess I want to ask you. I guess asking you like who you are is kind of silly, but what do you do on Twitch? Because that's where you are primarily, right?
Yeah, well, I guess so. I make my content for YouTube on Twitch, like a lot of other people. So I'll usually just
I
talk
love
about
that.
shit. Yeah, and then I just like upload it onto YouTube. It's pretty
Why do you do it though? Like, why
easy.
why Twitch? Why YouTube? Why commentary?
Well, yeah, I started on TikTok, and then I did
Hmm.
commentary and just like dumb bullshit. And then I came over to Twitch and I started with like some video games with fans, and then I slowly got into commentary, and now I just kind of enjoy it. And I've been getting into. There hasn't been a whole lot of things to talk about, so I just started like reacting to bullshit videos, which is actually a lot of fun doing commentary
Yeah,
on bullshit. So I made a whole other channel just to react to bullshit because it's just
I
fun.
love that actually.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you didn't you review Love Is Blind a little bit?
I did. I watched Love Is Blind. Yeah, yeah, I did.
Season 1 or 2?
I watched season 2. I didn't see season 1 yet.
Damn. I haven't started season 2. I'm only a couple episodes in, but my sister introduced me to the show in general, and then we watched season 1. And I think I was just shocked at like this display of human behavior. I was like, these are real people, bro. Like, and this is all of them are here for different reasons. And I've only, man, I wish I had seen season 2,
Hmm.
but I'm so excited to watch it. But I find it fascinating to watch people just be people.
Hmm.
But how, when you're observing these people, when you're doing commentary reactions, like how, in what lens are you judging them by? their humanity, their moral compass, how they look? Like, what's your gauge?
Well, I guess that's a good question. I don't really know. I guess like moral compass is part of it. Consistency, for the most part, when I talk about a lot of topics that are more serious, it's usually through more of like a social justice lens on bullshit drama. But I don't know. I've never really been asked that question, so I don't know how to specifically answer it. I guess just moral consistency, things in that nature.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions you've probably never been asked before.
It takes me
FYI.
It takes me a long time to think about things I've never thought about before. So hopefully I have decent answers, because a lot of times people ask me a question, if I don't know, it takes me like a while to really come to terms with it. But okay,
I like that. Though.
I'll do my best.
No bad answers. Well, okay, here I'll give you like a fun one, and then we'll really get into it.
Okay.
You enjoy existing?
Yeah, sure. Like, do I want to kill myself? Is that what you're asking me?
Do you just enjoy being alive?
It's not bad. It could be worse, you know. That's pretty much the way I'm a glasses half full kind of guy. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I like that. What about like existence? Everything outside Papa, like everything outside of yourself. Do you like that? Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I like that more.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I'm the opposite. Tell me everything.
So you like your job more than your.
No, I like existing more than existence. Like I like myself in my life more than I like interacting with anything outside of me. Like I like my existence.
Oh, give me an example of what you mean, because I thought you just meant like, do I like my work life versus my home life?
Yeah. So the way that I think about it is I think about existing as a Brittany, as a Papa, like, we're people. Like we exist in our consciousness outside of all of our family and friends who we love.
Yeah.
But then everything outside of us, outside of our initial bubble of existing, is like everybody else in the world. And I am constantly exhausted. I'm exhausted by Modern Warrior. I'm exhausted by Twitter. I'm exhausted by everybody with their drama. And I want to talk to you about that later.
Okay. Sorry, keep going. You going.
So that's the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like people that much. If that's the way I'd simplify that. I mean, I enjoy my life outside of work. I'm pretty happy. I mean, everybody has their own problems, but for the most part, I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm very fortunate. As far as people, like, I don't have like a massive tolerance for like emotional interactions. I don't even really have friends. I've pretty much just me and my wife. So
life, baby.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I enjoy it. Yeah, but I just don't like. I enjoy talking about stuff on the internet. Like the Modern Warrior drama doesn't exhaust me. It makes me laugh.
Yeah.
It makes me feel very self-righteous, because I knew I was right, you know.
Sir, I was right. I predicted that a few weeks. Actually, I laughed when you did your take. My Discord and I were watching it, so we were all watching separately on our own your take, and then everyone's like, "Holy shit!" Because I don't know what it is. I need to know actually. You and I both predicted, because leftist boys, I don't know what is up with them. Like why they always like swing their dicks around like they're here for women, white knight.
Yeah, yep. And then
what is this stereotype?
So, for me, like, I like to personally experience something before I make it a thing. Through my time on TikTok, I've seen multiple people, and it's usually like there's a content creator named Calvin Brandy who sexually assaulted a girl, and like he would always, I know, but he was like, oh, you know, he would always talk about, like, he was like a male feminist. But then he sexually assaulted a girl, right? And it's like, okay, well, how kind of a male feminist can you be? And then I don't know if you know who Joe Robe is. He was big for a while. He was like, you know, virtue signaling over social justice topics. And then it turned out that he was trying to like have sex with young boys. And so like there's a pattern of people who like, I guess you'd say identify as like male feminists, who tend to do it not from a place of actually giving a shit about women's issues, but from a place of wanting to get something from women or some kind of like clout. Like they tokenize the female perspective. There's not very many people that are genuinely like, that's it, genuine, I guess.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I had this frustration too coming up because I'm a girl and I've been in a lot of leftist spaces and I've been in a lot of political spaces, but I spent a lot of time in leftist spaces. And the men were great in a lot of ways. Like gamer bisexual boys, my favorite, like just like something very cool about them. But then they'd be like cheaters, or they'd go around like fudging rules, and I'm like, excuse ma'am, what is going on? And then I just started getting really I became super aware that people live in bubbles, what I call them, like cultural ideologies, and they chill with their friends, and they usually have a tendency to roll with what's supposed to be said. So
Yeah.
my assumption is that what happens is like there becomes a disconnect in their identity between what they feel. So maybe they're like treat women okay, and then they get into these groups where they're like treat women okay,
But they don't
and
know what that
sometimes you
means.
cheat, or yeah, it's treat women
They
okay, but
don't know what it
sometimes like
means. Yeah.
they don't know what it means, so they
Nope.
can't even like move it forward. And so I think that's the frustration I'm having with watching all these people. And Modern Warrior, I've been obviously like he's very famous on my side of YouTube. I see him a lot. You know, he's on my feed. I don't particularly enjoy his hey colonizer concept of the world because like it's too combative to me to be any useful in
I also don't
moving
think
things
it's. I also don't
forward.
think it's genuine. I don't think that he's actually.
Oh,
I don't think that he does it because he actually thinks that white people are the devil. I think he does it because he knows that he can virtue signal about a topic and people will watch him. That's the biggest thing.
maybe.
You know, I rather deal with a real racist. You know, give me
I
something to work
wondered,
with. You know,
what's that lady's name? Chelsea, is that her name?
yeah, that was one of the girls. Yeah,
Okay, is that the main girl though? The one who cried and everything?
yeah, that's the main girl who cried. I forget the other girl's
Okay.
name, but she had the same thing happen to her. But she was just like, "Hey, this was really shitty and manipulative," but he didn't sexually assault me. That was pretty much yeah.
Which another thing is happening too with like the way this discourse. So like when she came on her channel and on TikTok and she was talking about how like white supremacists are truly trying to kill land. So I was like, okay, I understand that for sure. White supremacists be out there.
Maybe.
But,
Well,
you know,
I don't know if they're trying to
I've been
kill
in
him.
Well, that's the thing. I've been in political circles for a really long time, and like I don't know why killing Lance would be a great political move for them because he's not that interesting or famous except on TikTok. So like it's kind of like what would be the point? When white nationalists go after somebody much more interesting?
I think
I
that
don't know.
he might have gotten. Well, see, here's the thing. I don't really know specifically. He might have gotten doxxed.
Oh, for sure, probably,
but
right?
there's a
Like,
bit of a theory going around, and I haven't been able to confirm it. But people are saying he was married, and I don't know if it is or isn't true. But he was caught trying to talk to another girl, and apparently he was married or in a relationship. And they're saying the reason that he left his house wasn't because of white supremacy; it was because his wife kicked him out. I can't confirm it. I don't want people to think that that's like a real. But
yeah.
It was an interesting theory, but that's when it all started. It was a different girl, like Smolox or something on TikTok, a smaller content creator.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, I'm in my 30s too, and I think all these people are like 30, 28, 20. I think they're a little younger than us.
They're like adults. They're yeah.
Yeah, they're adults enough, but yeah, okay, I'm not even going to pretend like my cringy ex relationship from years ago was not on the internet because it wasn't. It's cringy as hell. But like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to like have a lot of empathy where I'm like, listen, I remember being in my 20s and like being a messy girl on the internet, and I'm trying to think of like but then they're sitting here as like these leaders, like thought leaders almost. And I guess I don't know. I was too in my bubble. And so like, I think I have a problem with like knowing like what stage of life are you in, guys? Are you like, is this it? Is this our last teenage relationship on the internet?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It is interesting though. Like, yeah, there are a lot of thought leaders, and then TikTok is probably the worst platform for that too, because there's no discourse anymore. They pretty much it's really just virtue signaling progressive content creators. There's really nobody else on there except for like the Daily Wire trying to get like a conservative stuff on there. But
that's hilarious.
But TikTok is very policey about not what their content is, but how people feel about their content. They go ahead. Go ahead.
And picture that. I'm gonna.
Oh no, I was gonna say like it's not like on YouTube they have pretty defined rules where it's like, okay, you can't say this. On TikTok, it's about the way that they remove videos is based on how many reports the video gets. They don't really care.
Oh,
yeah, it's a very different
because my videos be getting kicked out pretty fast. I keep forgetting that my room has a lot of nude art in it, so I keep posting videos with like paintings in the back. I'm like, Brittany, and so like I've not gotten into the TikTok thing yet. I've tried. I'm just like, YouTube is what I know.
I don't know if it's worth it.
It probably isn't. And honestly, I feel like young people see me and automatically know. They're like, don't like her. And I'm like, I know. I'm just like a goober. I feel like an old person. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But I am curious. Where do you land politically?
Oh, I don't know. I guess I'm like a moderate leftist. I don't really know. I don't know. I mean, I'm a UBI supporter. I like UBI a lot. That's like my flagship thing. Like that's the thing I like more than anything else. And I guess I'm a little bit of a little liberal. I know I'm pretty progressive when it comes to a lot of issues, but I try to be a little more like commonsensical about it. Like trans is cool, gay people are cool, women are cool, women are all right.
Gay people are cool, women are all right. Let's go. This is a very like your audience I have, so you're winning points right now.
hey, well that's all it takes. That's what it is. That's why I just go on TikTok and be like, yep, you're valid if you're gay, and then people
we love the gays. Yeah, it's true. Actually, I had because I used to like march and do like activism stuff like my whole life until last few years I like quit and moved into philosophy.
Mhm.
But like I used to do these things, and so I had one person on like YouTube be like, I really need you to like say on Twitter like I support BLM. I was like, but I do. I've marched with them. I've cleaned up streets with them. I don't know why I have to say it. And he's like, but I just need to know you like you care. And I was like, oh, I care. And he's like, no, I need to know you cared. I was like, by posting it, you're in front of me right now. I'm talking to you. Why do you need me to go on Twitter? And like, it's like this weird thing in America, at least in the States, where we only feel like you're truly in it if it's like on your social media, which I think is like a really basic, I think it makes sense though, because social media is how we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to get past that a little bit, especially in this discourse with you. I want to imagine that we are more than like what we're hashtagging. And at the same time, understand that it could be a means to move things forward.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with your work, are you having the intent, like Lance's or other people, to quote unquote move things forward? Are you just more focused on like enjoying your life and reacting to things and talking to people?
Okay. That's an interesting question. That's a very loaded question. So when it comes to a lot of, like we said before, some of my reactions are just for fun and just being silly and making jokes. Usually when I'll talk about like a particular topic, like the modern warrior topic, I just try to I guess be level-headed and I don't know, cut through the bullshit, because a lot of people at first were calling him like a predator, and I think that's an overprescription. I think he's a fuckboy, and I think that he has no credibility when he talks about social justice issues, but we also need to be careful of not weaponizing sexual assault just to deplatform somebody. And so I guess I guess moving forward in the sense of like, I'm very tired of disproportionate responses from people. And now that people realize Chelsea's insane, everybody's pretending like Modern Warrior did nothing wrong, which is also another problem, because he still is a fuckboy that doesn't have any credibility. We just have to understand that he's not a sexual predator. He's just he's a man. He's a typical guy, which is wrong what he's doing, but like understand that it needs to change. But he's he's not doing anything honestly profound. He has a typical male behavior, shitty male behavior.
Right.
So I guess,
do you believe that? Like right there, that sentence. I'm so curious. Like, is this typical male behavior?
Yeah. 100%. Fuckboy behavior. like, listen, it's fuckboy behavior, especially like younger men. Younger men and men who get introduced to a large dating pool tend to not know what to do with themselves. The issue, I don't even think the issue is necessarily being a fuckboy. The issue is being dishonest about it. Like, at least if you're going to be a fuckboy, just be honest about it. Just be like, yeah, I'm fucking around. Like, I'm open, Don't be like, oh, it's just me and you, That's pretty much it.
You know what's weird? Because I've met fuckboys, though. Like, certain boys, like, okay, I covered, do you know who Sneeko is?
I've seen him before. Yeah, I've seen like a video or two. He's a little out there.
I love Sneeko, and like we're friendly. We're definitely friendly. Like I like him a lot. I've definitely covered his work in the past. And one of the things I realized about Sneeko is like he's a perfect fuckboy, but in so many ways is like he's also a boy that like falls in love. And it's weird to watch this like struggle with some men where like some of them are just fuck boys, they don't give a fuck, and then some of them are like falling in love with like all these girls. And I don't know what this is in certain people, why certain people go for the romantic serial love and like the fucking, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just like, so different though.
I don't know. When I was in like my, I guess, active time, like I was like a serial monogamist. So I wouldn't fall in love, but I would like catch feelings, and then we'd have sex for a while, and then you get bored and you move on after like 3 months. I feel like that's somewhat normal from the guys, at least that I've talked to. Like, I don't know. I know people who do go to like bars and clubs and hook up, but I feel like a lot of people will typically engage in like, they get at least a little comfortable so that, you kind of know what you're dealing with, you keep it a little consistent.
That's the best too. Like even as friends or lovers, like it is nice to know someone enough. So while you're, getting it on, it's not, and then afterwards, it's kind of like still nice.
Yeah. Well, the sex tends to be better too when you're a little bit more emotionally involved. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, can I ask you about your relationship? Are you cool with that?
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
How long have you been married?
We got married in November.
Oh, fantastic. So new. Have you been dating long or no?
We dated for like 3 years before that.
Wow. Look at you.
I know.
How did you pick her?
How did I pick her?
Why?
Oh, she's just great.
Oh,
We started talking when I was at my old job. I was a bus maintenance. Oh my god, what would they call me? Call me a bus appearance maintainer manager. I was a fucking manager of a bus. I was a manager of a bus washing crew. Job wasn't bad, but management could suck. And at the time, I was very new to I think it was like when I was 26, right? That's when Trump won. Was when I started to get into like social conversations. Trump, if anything that he did right, he got people talking. So,
Mm.
and that's when I got into like
Yeah.
Jon Stewart, and I started educating myself on social
Oh,
justice
nice.
topics and like these different topics. And I met her like very fresh into my understanding of everything, and like she was impressed by it. Well, I don't know why, because I was still dumb, and we really connected over those conversations because she was somebody when she was in school, she was like very active in like the LGBTQ community and things of that nature. And she's a social worker. She works with adults with disabilities. She's a behavioral
nice.
specialist. So we have like a lot of very interesting in-depth conversations. And so like that was a big thing for me, was that she's very intelligent. So
Yeah.
it kind of just, and then she's made me a better person moving forward from that. Because if I didn't have her, I'd be fucking stupid. When I was on TikTok doing commentary, we would talk for a long time before I would post anything. If I was going to make like some, minute take on some political issue, it was like a 45-minute conversation with her beforehand, just like bouncing ideas back and forth. That's the only reason that I understand anything, is because I have her perspective. So,
I love that. Okay, so this is like one of my favorite. And I use trope in a very good way. I think like we're all tropes. I think we're all very much anime like people. I think we just like our stories are going like Lord of the Rings. Like it's not a bad thing, but I love your trope of man that they do this thing like, I don't know where you're from, but like I wonder if it's that, but like where they say things like my wife makes me a better person and like she lifts me up and she's so smart. It's like you're giving her. It's so different than like Fresh and Fit. You know what I mean? It's like such a different. Do you know Fresh and Fit, right?
Yeah, like they've like DMCA'd some of my stuff. Yeah, that's.
Oh, great! Love that for you. They have not come after me yet, and I'm insulted. I'm like, hello, I'm right here.
I'm surprised. They usually will.
I know.
They'll usually pull everything down. Well, I when I say that, I mean it. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I was raised more conservatively, I guess. Not that conservatives are better, but the family unit tends to be a little more traditional and strong. So like all my married family members are very appreciative of their spouses, so it's something that I value a lot. And she has made me a better person. Like I actually was like, I've become much more intelligent having conversations with her than before. Yeah, I know.
All the girls in my audience, Papa God.
I know. She really is like the reason that I genuinely feel like she's the reason I'm successful in a lot of topics. Because there was a moment when I stopped like talking to her about stuff, and I would put up my hot takes, and they were just getting bad. And I was like, wow, this is like a really big deal. I would just say something like ignorant about usually women, but it's been a fun experience. And I've embraced being wrong about women sometimes. It's like, we'll have these conversations, like instead of being like afraid of it. That's what usually when you're on the internet, you're afraid to say something stupid. I just don't care anymore. And it's worked out really well because it helps me educate myself. Like we've had bizarre conversations, not to go on a tangent, but there was a really fun one where we were driving and we saw like a construction site where there's like 6 guys working and then 1 girl holding a sign. I remember seeing that, and I told her, I was like, look at that woman. She's not doing fucking anything. She's getting paid. And she looked at me and she said, how do you know that the reason that she's holding the sign is because she can't do the job versus those guys just thinking she can't do the job, so they give her the sign? And that fucking blew my mind. I was like, oh, that's a really interesting point, because like I've done the same thing when I was at my work. I would do things for women because I would, not that I thought that they were incapable, but I was like, oh, I'd be chivalrous, and it potentially denies opportunity for women to actually prove themselves. So I was like, wow, that was really interesting.
Yeah. Okay, you know what's interesting? Okay, hold on. Let me see if my brain can do it. Hold on. I get distracted by everything that pops up on my screen. So basically, the conservatives do this thing where they're like, I love my wife, ball and chain, happy life, happy wife, whatever, all this stuff. Like, it's like, we say these sayings, we have these like things that the leftists, my friends hate. My feminist friends are like, I hate all these stupid fucking things people say. Just like be egalitarian and date your partner. I'm like, yeah, but listen to how romantically cute it is though, right? Like there is something about conservative guys or growing up conservative where it's like really romantic, but then they do things where they like they just like they baby women in a weird way.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it in a bad way. But then if you go to the left is the same thing. They baby women. I like this Chelsea lady being like, I was assaulted maybe. And I'm like, oh, not even close though, right?
Not at all,
is this what we're counting? Like, is this what we're counting? Consensual sex is it's so confusing to me, but at the same time, we both do it. Like everyone does it. You know what I'm saying? I wish we could almost take the good from everybody and like form a better community.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that in general, I mean, like a little bit of a problem on the left is like babying anybody who's marginalized too. It's a little bit of an issue. It's another problem. I don't. Nobody really explores I would call it like a form of racism of like progressives, and I was there too. Like I've had quite a content creation. Like there was a time where like I wouldn't say things because I didn't mean them, but like you would say things because you knew that they would give you positive like gratuity. They'd be like, "Oh my god, you care about fucking black people? You're so cool." And it's like, yeah, it's like, and I was like, yeah, I do. But then like also you're being performative about it. Sometimes people can tend to take performative stances. They'll be like, I do care about social issues. I care about black people. But then you start virtue signaling. It's something that nobody really talks about.
I think okay, so I genuinely think most people are good. I just think that we struggle to create solutions that are generally good for most people because I don't think that's possible. So we end up like just giving our best ideas, So like for my work, I try to just impact like that 6-foot radius, that like circle around me. Who can I impact? Who's, versus thinking globally like I used to, because I used to think I was going to save the world. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then now I realize I'm like, oh, that's kind of retarded. I'm just going to like fucking help as much as I can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And do my best. By the way, I'm so sorry. I think you're streaming on Twitch right now. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay, should I keep my like language tailored in any way? Because I feel like Twitch is really weird about it.
I personally try not to use any pro gamer words.
Got it.
If you slip, it's okay. I personally,
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of them.
Okay, I will.
On the internet,
I can avoid.
Yeah.
I just don't want you guys to get in trouble on Twitch because
I don't think I would.
That's why I'm afraid to stream on Twitch too, because like my language is still very much like 90s bar language. I need to like tailor that one day.
Oh yeah, I curse a lot when I make content. I do. I curse a lot, but yeah.
Okay, cool.
I try not
the pro
to.
gamer word.
Yeah, not the pro gamer word. Like fuck isn't like a pro gamer word to me. Like
Any
like bigoted words are that's a pro gamer word to me. Any bigoted slur is a pro gamer word.
It's so funny that gamers are like associated, like the pro gamer words are basically.
Well, because the gaming community is a little regressive. You just look at like World of Warcraft and everything.
Very true. Do you find anything technically wrong with these communities, like creating their own like language and way of being and stuff like that, or do you think they should conform to sort of like a greater community?
Give me an example. Like what language?
I don't know. I really
Poggers is okay.
Wait, say that again.
Like Poggers is okay. Like forming that language, I think is okay. Saying.
What does that mean? I don't know what that word means. Poggers?
It basically just means cool. Like it's like it's Poggers.
Oh,
yeah. It comes off like play of the game, and it became a thing. But like that's when you said people using languages based on their community. Like I'm okay with language, but what do you mean like?
Kind of anything, I guess, because like I don't know. I've been to so many places. I've been to so many different states as an example, and every state I go to, they speak differently. They have different words. Some people use like slurs like every day in their world, and you're like, oh, that's just like normal for this community. Weird.
Yeah.
And like you go to different communities, and it's just I'm just curious on what you think about that generally. Like I'm not trying to, just like what does Anne think about that? What does Papa Gut think about people being people?
I mean, in general, I'm not a huge fan of slurs being used in general. Even in what's an example of like an everyday use slur? I mean, I guess without saying the whole thing.
I think like the FAG word, like
F-word. The F slur. Okay. It's one of those things where I think that obviously people should police their language and try not to use like offensive language like that. Because when you say something is gay or the F slur, usually you're just like, oh, that's stupid, But at the same time, it's like, for me, I feel like as long as if you're saying it within your friend group and community, I still don't really agree with it. But at least well enough to be respectful to other people when you're using the vernacular. Ideally, nobody should use slurs. But I'm not going to have a meltdown because some guy's having a conversation with another guy with a one-on-one and they're saying a bunch of shit and I overhear it. I might go and walk away, but that's a very big difference versus calling someone gay or not even just that, but the F slur. So, small wins.
Yeah. So okay, where does this idea come from for you? Like, where is the moral? Like, what's the argument for you? Are you a community? It sounds like you're a community man.
I guess so. What do you mean? What's the argument? Like, what do you?
Well. Okay, like I use slurs all the time. Like I'm gonna be real with you. Like in my bubble, in my house, in my friend group with people on my channel, I do use like the F slur and like all the girl slurs, and I use all the
the girl slurs. Okay.
Although I use all the like bad words that my mom really hates. But at the same time, I always struggle with this because like my Brittany's vocabulary is like all words are good words. Brittany's job vocabulary is like, oh, I don't want to get kicked off YouTube.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so I've used pro gamer words before. Obviously, I grew up as like a gamer, very toxic environment. It was probably its most toxic. Like I wasn't a Call of Duty guy, but I was like a
Yeah,
Dota 2 guy and like a League
yeah,
of
yeah,
Legends
yeah.
guy, and everybody yells at everybody. I think that for me is like if I do use a slur and I do try to police myself in private, so I don't like say anything wrong in public, because like I really, I have a
Sure.
problem with repeating words to them. Like
Oh,
my,
I got you. I got
I don't
you.
know, maybe my ADHD or something. I don't know. But I think that for the most part, people like have used them in the past and not known why. Like most people are like they'll shoot off the F slur because it's just a funny word to them, and then you get older
Sure.
and you're like, oh, that's actually really bad, and it's still part of your
Mhm.
vernacular, so you sit in your old ways and you still use it in private, but then in public you know better. I would call that progress, even if it's not ideal. I mean, I'm not like an idealist really. I'm
Mhm.
more of a pragmatic person, so I guess that's my
Fair.
thought process. So if you're not going to say it in public, I think at the very least you are understanding and respectful enough not to do that, not to be offensive, which I think is a big step.
I think so too. I live in a very small community. I choose to live here. It's like a town of like 6,000 people. It's like really tiny, but it's really great. And one of the things I love about it is that I feel like when I moved here, I figured out what the community's vibe was, and I try to stick to that vibe when I'm in public
Mhm.
because I don't want to be a disruptor. Like I didn't move to this town to disrupt them. I moved to this town to be at peace, to work on YouTube full time and not be bothered. You know what I
Was
mean?
it like cheaper out there, I guess?
Oh my god, it's so much cheaper, but I'm also like, a huge like, I want like 20, 30, 40 acres if I can get it.
Oh
So
yeah.
fingers crossed in the next 12 months, boo boo. I'm excited. Like fingers crossed, I'm putting offers down. But it is one of those things where my brother has a farm out here, like 30 minutes from here.
Mhm.
So I chill with him and stuff. But it is one of those things where, yeah, we all moved out of California, ended up in middle America, and just like love it here. And it's just like really nice. The people are really cool. But I try to be a good community member when I'm in public.
Yeah.
And then I try to think of my home as a community. So when people come here, so like when my religious brother comes here, he knows like, hey, I'm gonna have nude art in the wall. We're gonna talk about gay stuff. Like it's gonna be a thing because like two of us are queer in this house. Out
Yeah.
of the 10 kids, three of us are gay or bisexual of some
Are
sort.
they
So
mostly men or women or
my
just
one
mixed?
brother, my sister, and me.
Okay. Wow.
8 boys, 2 girls, and three of us
Eight
had to do
boy?
coming
Wait.
out to our
Oh,
parents.
a boy and two
Yeah,
girls. How many? Wait.
yeah, 8 boys, two
Eight
girls.
boys?
Yeah, my mom, 10 kids.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. I didn't hear.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
I always joke like Catholic Middle Eastern people with no birth control. It's just what happens.
Wow. Okay.
It's
Interesting.
just what happens. But yeah, I understand that desire to, I guess, like be a community member and move people forward. I think like I'm not an idealist, but in my ideal world, ideally would be able to like understand the context of a person's character based off of their individual consciousness.
Mhm.
But that's not always how the world works, right? Like we talk to people and we operate based off what we know about them. So when I think about like why I believe what I believe, I tried to go back to the beginning of like, well, why are we even here as humans?
Mhm.
So I want to ask you, why do you think we're here, like
Like
as a
what is
species?
like what's the meaning of life? Is that what you're asking me?
Kind
What?
of, but like first and foremost, yeah, like why are we here as a human species? And like, yeah, what is the meaning of what we're all doing here? What are you doing here?
I don't know. I'm just chilling here. Is what I'm doing. But I think I don't know. The only conclusion I've come to is that the reason that humans, well, we exist to continue existing. Like what? I mean, I don't. I'm not super spiritual. So the only logical thing to me is like we're just here to continue existing, and that just means existing in a way that's as comfortable as possible for most people. So that's
Mm,
pretty much it.
interesting. So I guess that's why you're pro UBI.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a big UBI. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's universal basic income, right? For anyone who's not
yeah,
like aware. Yeah, yeah. So okay, that's really interesting to me, I guess, because I think I agree mostly that from my understanding, I'm gonna go with our best guess here, that we're probably just like gonna evolve species over time, chilling,
yeah,
and that we're part of the ecosystem, the same as like anything else, really. But we have a consciousness that we can have a relationship
yeah,
with ourselves and with other people's consciousness. So it's kind of like, oh, well, I guess I should question the purpose of my existence now. And
yeah.
then through that, I feel like all I've really understood is that if we are really just like an evolved species over time, like why are we being very inefficient with what we're doing? And it's because of belief systems, a
Yeah,
disagreement,
yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah, what do you mean by being inefficient? Like inefficient in what capacity?
Well, I feel like war is really unnecessarily petty, like at this point in our modern society. But I also
Yeah.
understand like why these men have to do it because they're all playing like their own version of like,
Well, yeah. I
is
mean,
that
it's
you know what I mean?
war is very efficient for influential people. You know what I mean? It's very good for maintaining power. I think that there's a level of aggression in men that enjoys fighting in some capacity too. You know, I think it's just
using other people's lives as the pawns. Like that's the problem. It's like, bro, we don't have a say. We can't like go against the government and be like, I'm not going to serve in this war. They put you in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
So
true,
it's kind of crazy. But I think that's why I think I've gotten to this path where I've tried to fully accept people for like what they are. Like I think the majority of the world is the way it is because the majority of people want it that way. I can't imagine that 350 million Americans can't figure out how to say no to 1,000 people in suits.
I gotta think about that one. Okay.
Good.
I gotta think about that one because I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. So you're saying, say it again, just for me. I have to let it.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that the majority of the world. I am convinced. Sorry, that the majority of the world is the way it is because the majority of people want it that way. As in America, as an example, I can't imagine that 350 million Americans, let's say half of that, even 100 million, let's say Americans, can't say no to like 1,000 people in suits. Like whoever's this in charge of us people. Like Biden, you know what I mean? I could blow him over.
I mean, there's like multiple conversations to have here, but the first one is I think that people don't think it can change, so they don't care. Like they tune out. A lot of people. I don't think most people enjoy the way that it is. And then another part of it is I don't think people know the right way to move forward. And then I also think that we have a very performative like political system here. I think the news has a drastically negative impact on the way we have conversations. Because like you said, I think most people, conservative or progressive, are somewhat aligned on the way. I think if we said fuck it, if we just all sat down, 330 million people in a circle, I think that we could realize that 80% of everybody is probably somewhat on par with everything. And like, I think most people would be okay with the universal healthcare system as long as it maintains a private option. And I think that the data suggests that as well, as long as that's maintained. And like, is that full universal healthcare? I mean, no, I don't really care either way. Well, it's a nice, was a compromising take. It's like, okay, we can move forward towards universal healthcare for people who are poor, but then also you can maintain your healthcare because I know that you like it, because like it's usually going to be better if you're going to pay more. Most people would agree to do that, but obviously, the conservative aspect just doesn't give a fuck. But I think most conservatives are actually okay with that. Like most conservatives are okay with welfare. I don't know. We have this idea that conservatives hate it.
Totally are.
They are totally fine with it.
No.
But like it's a stereotype that conservatives hate welfare or people on welfare. Of course they're tired of people taking advantage of it because there are people who do that.
Sure.
But like, they care about robust systems. They just feel like the system in general is failing people. It's really more of a compromise. But I don't think most people are okay with the way the world is.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, I am okay. I actually do agree with that. That I think that if you really sat I always tell my conservative friends and my leftist friends, I was like, you both hate men. You guys both hate the government. You guys know both hate Texas. Like, you both hate the same things. I don't know why you're not getting along. And a part of it is because I even told my parents, my parents were like, if the left could only see how the government is ruining their lives. I was like, are you willing to work with the trans? And my mom was like, only if they're not willing to be trans. And I was like, ooh, no. And same with my trans friends. Are you willing to work with the Trumpers? Ooh, it's like they don't want to. So that's the part where I'm like, you must know you have agency in this. You don't want to work together. So therefore, chaos.
Yeah, I mean, people tend to tune out. They're like, I don't think, like, they'll say like, okay, this person is different. I don't want to work with them. I don't really care enough. And then they tune out. And then they also, the idea of like, oh, I don't have a whole lot of say, because individually people don't necessarily have a huge say. And then every time you elect somebody, it goes into the political system, which is a whole problem as itself, because, what really gets done. And there's a lot of factors. I don't think most people are okay with the way things are. I think that people have accepted the way things are, and they just don't think that they can have any substantial change on it.
What's the difference? Because I know you're like, as an example, if you don't mind, like I've recently undergone like this like weight journey. I think you just started working out yourself, which is great. I love to see it. And like, it is a thing that you have to do though. It's like a thing where you have to go, okay, I'm going to do it today. I hate it. I will never like working out, I'm pretty sure. But I literally have to force myself to do it. You know what I mean? Because it's necessary for my goals. So it's kind of one of those things where I feel like if people know enough to be discouraged, they should know enough to be motivated.
What do you mean?
Well, if you know enough, like the system's fucked up, I guess I won't do anything. Hey, buddy, how about the system's fucked up? I guess I'll do something. And that something could just be like getting your life under control, maintaining your family's happiness. I don't need you to be an activist. Sure. I need you to, in your daily life, like these leftist fuckboys, change the narrative if you want.
Well,
if you want.
I
you
think
know?
that it's a couple things. One, like I think individuals don't really think that they can do much of a change or have much of a change. And then again, it's one of those things where people have an idea of what to do for change, but they don't really know how to express it. And then other people don't necessarily agree with that being the way to move forward. So that I think
Yes, totally.
but I personally love working out. I used to work out a lot when I was younger. I used to be into like
Really?
strong. Yeah, I used to be into strongman. Like I've had a good heyday.
Ugh,
I
you
just
boys. I don't know what it is. I
yeah.
cannot love it. It hurts my knees, but I gotta,
Might
I
be
gotta stay strong. You
my
know, I
you
want that Cora body.
what hurts your knees?
My genetics.
Like what is it? What is it you're doing that makes your knees hurt?
Oh, if I do, too many squats or like open
Mm.
hip, I don't know what they're all called, but like the open hip ones where you squat low because I'm trying to work on my flexibility so I can do the splits. I should have done this when I was younger.
Yeah, yeah, that
It's
does help.
hard.
Oh, do you?
It's
Well,
hard, but
yeah.
it feels like my knees do this. My knees feel like this and they
Maybe
crack. You can hear them.
maybe it's like a technique issue a little bit.
Maybe it could be. I also know my dad did tell me because he works out. He has like a home gym. He's like obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
But like we have really shitty needs. My brothers feel it. They have like we have sciatica and we're only in our 30s and 20s.
Oh
Like
wow.
our genetics are not fantastic. We may look cute, but we have a lot of problems, and so mental and physical. And so it's just one of those things, But I will get better as I get into it because you're right. A lot of it is probably technique for me because I'm very new to it in a lot of ways. I
Yeah.
know I've been doing it for a while, but I'm still kind of dumb when it comes to this stuff for sure.
Yeah, it takes a lot of like engagement to really educate yourself on lifting. That was like the first 2 years of me lifting was just learning how to lift correctly. So
Yeah. Isn't that how it goes sometimes? Okay, so I'm
yeah.
very curious then. We seem to like you see how we're like having this conversation and we're like basically like yeah, all reasonable things, people, common sense, but not really because that's not a thing. And like we're all like, what do you think brings about sort of the initial chaos of what happens in the world? Like do you think it's just simple differences or do you think people don't want to problem solve? Like what makes you so chill compared to somebody else?
I'm trying to think. So hold on, because it's a very okay. So wait, what was the question again? I'm sorry
I know,
to
I'm
make you.
sorry.
It's just
No, no, I love
they're
it.
very loaded questions, and it's like so it's a lot to think
They
about.
are.
Yeah,
And I'm like, I call it my neurodivergent way of asking questions. Ask like 20 in one question. But
yeah.
basically, I'm just trying to understand like your brain.
Okay.
How, like, because I really think we are like evolved animals over time. So like none of this fucking
Yeah,
matters.
probably.
Slurs or taxes or governments. Like this is the best we've decided to do as a species, and it's pretty cool. Like, yes,
Mm.
things could be better, but at the same time, my ancestors didn't even have these things. My grandma didn't have electricity. So the fact that we
Right.
have
Yeah.
electricity is like a step up in terms of evolution in my
Oh,
brain. I'm
for
like,
sure.
cool,
Yeah.
doing better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like that's why I'm able to I think be at peace with sort of how the world is going because I'm like, yeah, we're like doing the best we can and this is it so far. And everyone's like, no, it should be better. But why? We're not even better. As individuals, we're not even better yet. So why should the world be better if we're a reflection of the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I personally, obviously, when you've conquered one problem, another problem arises. I think that like we should.
Mm.
I don't know, but yeah, I believe in making the world like what I would say better, something that's better for most people in some capacity. I mean, I think people are a reflection of society just as much as a society is a reflection of people. I mean, I'm trying to understand not just the question, but like what do you mean by what you're asking? Like, do you think that we're fine the way we are now? Is that what you're saying? And we should just kind of chill and be okay with what's going on?
No. No, I don't think the fine is like I think of the world as like it is what it is. Like it's kind of like when
Yeah.
you're dealing with a parent. I don't know how you are with your parents, but mine are like conservative Middle Eastern people.
Mhm.
And so one of the things like it is a constant battle, a constant like every year my parents take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back and 2 steps forward and 3 and they go like this. They're slowly moving forward.
Mhm.
But they always go back and it's normal. I do that. We all do that with everything we're doing. So I see the world that way. I see the world like I see my family. If I can't make peace in my family, well, I can't make peace in the world. So
Mhm.
if I can like whatever the best I can make for my family, I'm assuming the world can make the best for theirs. And that's basically an everyday uphill struggle of beautiful laughter and disagreement and chaos.
When you say better for like your family, what do you like, or other people? Like, what is it that you're referring to? Are you referring to this in like an individual choices perspective, where people should make better choices individually, and that will have a better reflection on society?
Yeah, I think I more lean that way. But I think like community efforts matter too, because I've
Yeah.
worked in a lot of like canvassing and I've protested and I've noticed that it really does change people. Like you said, like your wife coming out and saying, "Hey, like, did you think about it this way?"
Yeah.
It's like that is so. That is exactly why I want to have conversations with people. Like, hey, like teach me something, so I can think of it in a different way. But I feel like, well, I think that based off of what I've seen about the world is like we go in cycles. So, okay, I'll give you an example. I've used this example a few times, but like my sister was in college
Okay.
and read about how in ancient civilization they had to transcribe or like translate this like old Hebrew script or whatever, Egyptian script, whatever it was, into
Mhm.
English. And they were doing it and the sentence was basically like, "Mom, I don't understand why I can't have the latest garbs."
Okay.
And the irony, the joke of it was that it was to say that humans, we repeat cycles. Like we think like, oh, ancient Egypt was so different from us, but nope. All teenagers cared about was the latest garb and getting food and partying with their friends.
Yeah, sure.
And so, so if we're gonna repeat and we know this, why do you think we continue repeating? What is it? What do you think it means to know enough to not repeat mistakes?
I mean, I think that there's probably a difference between like young people gravitating towards I guess status symbols and being very shallow versus doing that at the expense of other people. Right. I think that that's what people. So, I mean, people are going to probably be consistently people in some capacity. I think that we're getting more intelligent over time. Obviously, education gets better, even if it's not perfect. And then, you have a better starting point, and then the next generation has a slightly better starting point, and people get more intelligent. But I think that, we tend to have similar patterns, but that doesn't necessarily mean we can't fix the issue. I don't think that it's a fundamental issue in our system that teenagers are shallow people. Until that shallowness has a negative impact on other people. So we can still work to have more positive impacts on people while also being okay with young people being stupid,
Yes. Okay. But what you said just now about like how every generation does a little bit better.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we know that because we're making efforts, because it's
Yeah.
not fine, but it's okay. Like I feel like we need a balance of being grateful and still moving forward.
Sure.
Like not
Yeah.
accepting
Well,
it
what does that
because
look like?
not,
What do you?
I think like what you're doing, like you said, like you're relaxing. You live with your wife. You live a
Yeah.
life. You're online. We're enjoying our lives, and we're making a slight effort to the best of our ability to come on the internet and say, "Hey guys, like I was thinking of an idea, and I think this might be better." Like my mom, I always say I'm slowly making her comfortable with the gays. It's gonna take a long time. She might not ever
Sure.
get there. She might die just like staunchly Catholic or whatever, and that's fine. I don't want to change her. I want her to be happy. And I think I've just learned to accept my mom for who she is, even if she always remains anti-gay, as long as she is not getting people fired, which is a goal of mine, and not, letting people adopt and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's, then I'll be satisfied. But I think some people have this idea that my mom has to be 100% pro-gay for us to win the battle. But I'm like, nope, just her not.
Yeah, I was wondering why you were asking the question. So are you saying that you think that some people, I guess, or progressive individuals tend to have too high standards for people changing? Is that what you're saying?
And same with the conservatives. I think everyone wants the world to be perfect in their worldview instead of compromising.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, sure.
Hmm.
Everybody has a different idea of what the world should be, and everybody thinks that everybody should be just like them. And then,
Right.
There's the compromise issue, isn't there? People don't realize that compromising means that you don't get what you want. You get a little bit of what you want.
So here's the question. As individuals, as a thinker yourself or a person who knows what he's doing in his life,
Mm-hmm.
how do you check yourself to make sure you're not doing the same thing they're doing?
Oh,
What's your method?
holding people to like my same standard?
No, like how like because okay, so one of the worries I have is that I'm always trying to make sure people understand that, look, I like life this way, but you might like life that way. And I'm trying to tell you, when I make a moral standing of this is how I think people should be, I'm not saying you're a bad person for being this way.
Sure.
I'm not even asking you to change, really. So what I'm trying to figure out is like, if we want the world to change, like you said, people shouldn't use slurs necessarily, but like why?
Yeah, I mean, they're just offensive. And you should do your best to be respectful to other people.
Why are they offensive, though? Like, they're only offensive to certain people. They're not offensive to me. So, like, they're not objectively offensive.
So, like, in general, like, I understand what you're saying. In general, I think that regardless of if you're not 100% educated on the word, using that word can still be offensive. And you tend to use, like, the F slur when it comes to talking about gay shit, right? You tend to use, like, slurs when they're within the realm of the individual that they're supposed to be targeted for. So, yeah, I don't think people should use them in private because I think that'll reduce, like, using it in public or spreading that onto other people or making comfortable spaces for that. But, like, are you asking why we shouldn't say them in public?
No, not necessarily. Well, you're making a stance. You're making a statement, which I'm not opposed to. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't mind if you think this way because it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
sure,
But in my house, it just doesn't make sense because like if I'm gonna call my brother an F word,
sure, yeah,
right? Or like your friends an F word, or even if I use it on the internet towards myself or towards my fellow gays who are like, it's like there are spaces in which it is literally within the context of this bubble, fine.
sure,
And so, but I think that we're also online, and so we are in a community, and so people who maybe don't know me could hear it and get offended. And it's not that I'm trying to not offend people. I'm trying not to make people think I'm anti-gay because that's ridiculous. Like,
sure,
but at the
yeah,
same time, I don't think that's a. If they think I'm anti-gay and yet an openly LGBT person, I think it is also kind of silly.
sure. I mean, I think most people would just be like, "Oh, you're, I guess, queer in some capacity," so they
Oh,
probably
100%.
wouldn't care as
Yeah.
much about you using it. They would
Oh,
call it like
I'm allowed to.
you'd be like you're reclaiming the word. Where if I said it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it would be a big
Oh,
difference.
by the way, your wife, if I may ask, so sorry,
Yeah,
I'm derailing here. Maybe
no,
I
no
have
problem.
ADHD. But your wife, you said she kind of did LGBT stuff. Is she queer?
That's an interesting question. Now, she did identify as queer. She thought she was going to be a gold star lesbian, and then she met me. So,
Oh, damn, coming in left field. Men always do
I
this. They ruin the gays.
I colonized the gay out of her. Yeah.
Oh, I love that for you. I love that for her. I'm just honestly like understandable girlfriend. I'm bisexual, so like I like men and women. Period. The end.
Hmm.
But it is kind of funny how that ends up happening. I think it's just you have more access to men too. Just like
Oh
it's just how
yeah.
it goes.
Well, she had access to plenty of girls. Like when she was in high school and college,
What?
she would like make out with like her friends and shit, and then she would do all that
Wow.
stuff. Yeah. So she was she was a little wild.
How old is
Um,
she?
she's 27.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, 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 cool,
A
cool.
little younger than me. I thought, or maybe she's 27. I'm turning 32, and then actually at the end of this month. So, and actually in 6 days, I'm turning 32.
Yay! Happy
I know.
birthday.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I
Are you
can't.
excited? Are you
32.
a birthday person?
No, not at all. My wife
Hmm.
is. When every time it's somebody's birthday, they all get together, like the family, and they celebrate. Me, I'm 32. I don't care, but we're gonna be getting together with my mother, not because I want to, but because she wants my wife wants us to. So it's
You just don't want to celebrate your birthday, or you don't want to see your mom?
no, I love my mom. I just don't care. Like I'm turning 32. Like
Ah,
who cares?
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
stopped really caring about birthdays when I was like 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they
Okay.
weren't like super significant to me. You get to a point where it's like, what's the point? 18 was, I guess, okay. 21, like I got drunk because I was 21, and then I didn't really care, and then I hit 30, and that's like a benchmark. So that was like a big one. So like my next big one's not until 40, so I don't really care until I hit
True.
40.
No, same. No,
That's it.
exactly the same. My family loves birthdays in the sense that we like to get together and have cake and be like, "Hey, look, we're a family."
Hmm.
But otherwise, like we stopped getting gifts at a young age, and
Yeah.
like my parents mostly just focus on like happy birthday texts, or like it was just my sister's birthday, and I just like messaged her like happy birthday. Hey, by the way, I want to talk to you about gossip. Like that's literally like I was like happy birthday, now gossip.
Well, see, you guys,
It's just like
there's like 10 of you guys, so it would be very difficult to orchestrate, like a
bro.
big birthday parties. Yeah,
Every month. Like it'd be outrageous. Like
it would
and
be.
now we have grandkids. We have like five grandkids or whatever it is. And so
Wow.
like it's all these birthdays. But and then I have like 81st cousins. Like what am I supposed to do? Go see all my cousins? Like too many people, guys. But I think it's nice that every little bubble has like their own cultural like importance. And I think our generation is actually getting the luxury, I think, of making our own, like literally saying, you know what, I've loved that we've did this growing up, but we're gonna do something different.
Yeah.
And I think more people are leaning towards that, like less
Yeah, like
birthday focuses.
weddings too. People are getting
Oh,
less intense on weddings. They're very expensive. People are
yes.
gravitating. We had a somewhat small wedding. It was like my
I love that.
mother, my aunt, my cousin, and then her mother, grandmother, and her brother, and that was it. And we had like a nice wedding in the park, and then we went to a Chinese buffet afterwards, and then we had like a mini kind of what do you call it? What is it
Like
called?
reception?
No, what is
Reception?
honeymoon? We had a small one. We went to like
Honeymoon.
Pennsylvania, and now we're doing like a bigger one. We're going to Disney in next month. That's going to be like our honeymoon.
Florida or California?
Florida.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah,
first of
yeah,
all,
it's
I
gonna
gotta
be
say
fun.
Pennsylvania, one of the most beautiful states I've ever seen.
It was fun.
I had
Yeah.
so much fun there. Oh my gosh. But I've never been to Florida. I want to go this summer for the first time. I'm so excited. But I'm so tempted to go to Disney by myself because I used to be a California pass holder.
Mhm.
So I've been a little bit too many times, but that's exciting. And I totally agree on the small wedding thing. and my Chaldean, that's what I am. I'm Chaldean,
Mhm.
and we're from Iraq. Like in our weddings, especially in America, I mean, we're talking like $50,000 to
Yeah.
$100,000 for a wedding, and I'm just like, okay, guys, so unnecessary.
Very expensive. It's a lot. We might do like a barbecue on our first like our anniversary for everybody, but it's too much money, you know.
I want a barbecue wedding. That's what I want. My parents have 5
It's fun.
acres. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have acreage. I was like, guys, I just want a fucking normal wedding on a farm with some barbecue. Why do we need anything else? Like my brother will slaughter the animals. I don't
We
know why we're working so hard.
we were looking into doing like Popeyes like catering and stuff like that. Like so like
Yeah.
that's like easy stuff that's relatively inexpensive. Get a couple or a decent amount of caterers and just like spend a couple grand instead of like 50 grand because
Exactly.
very expensive and I'm not for it. We rather save money for like a kid or a Disney vacation, which is what we did. You know?
Ooh, a kid. Are you guys gonna have
Yeah,
babies?
we're not trying, but we're at the point where we're not being safe. You know what I mean? Like we're just kind of we're letting
Good for you.
we're letting the chips fall where they do. You know.
I
So
like that energy, bro. I like that. That's very much like letting life take you where it's gonna go, but also being ready for it. It sounds like you're really thinking about it too.
yeah,
Like you're not just like, you have a plan a little bit.
yeah. We made the decision that we're ready to have a baby if it happens. Like we're okay with it. You know,
Cool.
we're in a decent spot right now, so we're okay with the with the idea of it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's really lovely. I'm excited for you. No, my goal, I want to, at this point, I'm pretty sure I probably won't be partnered in this lifetime. So I'm aiming more for like get the house and then maybe even adoption at 35. We'll
Okay,
see.
there's nothing wrong with
But I'm
that.
very excited. I'm excited. I just want to be a mom. I love kids. I grew up raising kids, doing nannying professionally. And now I call myself Mama Simon actually. So it's kind of funny. You're Papa Gut, but I'm Mama Simon on the internet. And then I'm Auntie Brittany, depending on what mood you need.
Do your brothers and sisters have kids?
My older brother has 2 kids, and my other farm brother, he's younger than me. He has 3 kids, and they're pregnant with their 4th. So very
Wow,
exciting.
good for them. And
Yes.
okay, interesting. Why don't you want to have? I'm just curious. Like why don't you want to have do you want to have your own kids, or you really just don't?
Oh, I would love to have my own kids. But I don't believe in making. This is not a jab at anyone else's personal choices.
Mhm.
I don't believe in making more. I'm okay with making more babies if I'm in love and I'm married because that's just like what happens.
Yeah,
But if I'm single, making a new baby just seems really inefficient when there's 500,000 who need homes.
that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I was just
You know?
curious. I was curious.
Yeah,
'Cause-
and I grew up pro adoption my whole life. My family's very pro adoption. I like I just grew up around adopted kids my whole life. So for me, I don't see the kid as different either. I could adopt anyone's kid right now and fall in love. Like I want to, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, it's just I know this is like totally weird, but I remember it was somewhat recently. Like I came across this video, and it was a scientific conversation about why gay people exist biologically.
Yeah. Oh, was it the
Yeah.
Weinstein?
I don't remember specifically. I'd have to
Wait,
look
it's
it
okay.
up.
Not important. Not important. Not important. Go ahead,
But
tell me.
it was like for me, it was like mind blowing because it was so interesting because they came at the question not in a way that it necessarily it doesn't matter whether there is a biological reason or not to be gay, but they were questioning like why does it happen. You would generally assume that the idea like being a person having like, you'd exist to make more babies, and so they were just
Right.
they were looking into why gay people would exist because it goes against that narrative. And one of the theories they came up with was that gay people potentially in like a potential biological capacity exist to be supporting like parental figures for other people's
Yeah.
kids, and that was like really
Mhm.
interesting to me. And like it's the data suggests that there's some credibility to that theory. Like gay people tend to adopt more, and
Yeah.
even people who you'd consider from a societal perspective as like less desirable, like older kids. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then everybody has the gay uncle stereotype, like the gay uncle always buying them stuff that doesn't have like a this or that or that thing. I was like, oh, that's really interesting
Yes.
that there's like I think that they're like, it doesn't matter if there was a biological need for gay people, but it's interesting that I think that theory works very well of like a supporting role of people to take care of people who are considered undesirable or helping their family in some capacity raise their kids or something. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I heard that too, and I'm here for it. I think it might be very apt because look, I'm thinking, okay, in my head, even myself, like, or my brother as an example, like we look at each other and we're like both gay, dating, we're like seeing people or whatever, on and off. I go on dates. We're all just like kind of, you know how it is right now, but it's a mess. But we're dating and
Yeah.
we're trying to see what's going on in the world. And what we're discovering is like, yeah, adoption seems to be much more likely if I'm with a same-sex partner, especially, or if I'm single, because whether he's single or not, like we're looking at each other like, yeah, I think we're just gonna make money and adopt children because
Yeah.
we can. Like we're not a threat. Like, and that's the thing too, is like they said that the reason there might be a gay gene as well is because they're saying like the men in particular who are gay will be comforters and partners to the women without being threats for the like rearing children from the cis men, or the straight men, I'd rather not cis, but straight men. And so I think that's
Okay.
interesting too. Like, cause straight men get really possessive. Like, I'm a girl. I don't know if you know, but like I post
do know
nude
that
on the
you're-
internet. Like, I'm
Oh,
very,
yeah.
yeah. And so a lot of people, I know you know, I'm a
I was
girl.
like, yeah, I know you're a girl. Yeah, I was like, okay.
But one of the things I've noticed is like straight men have a huge issue with that. Like to the point where they're like, I don't want my girl on the internet. And I'm like, okay, I'm with you. So like my head goes, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not going to be with a straight partner. And then the bi boys, like there's not very many of them walking around right now. And then I'm like, okay. And then the girls, like we're still having discrepancies with how we want to exist. So if I'm single, sorry, oh my God, hair in my mouth. Oh my God. So if I'm single, adopting a kid makes the most sense. And I'm like taking a kid off the street, and I want the most undesirable. I'm looking at kids with medical issues. I'm looking at kids with disabilities. I'm looking at kids who are old. I'm looking at kids who have siblings. I want to walk in. I want to say, who is not getting adopted?
It's unfortunate that it's so expensive.
Oh my gosh. That's
terrible.
I have to make a minimum of $150,000 a year to afford a nanny part-time to do this job, because I do this job full-time. I make pretty good money as a single person. It's great. As a person with a child, I would need to make $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then for the retreat center I need to make like $300,000 a year. Like I'm doing these numbers in my head, and I'm doing them all as a single person. And it's great. It's totally doable if you're Brittany and just work all time and don't leave your house.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think that gay component is so like a thing that I think makes total sense, or at least if anything, it's just, that's the frustration I have with like the religious, because right now I've been talking to them. I'm like, just let the gays adopt. Yeah. And they're like, no. And I'm like, guys, better for the kids to be adopted out by one person or two gay people than no people.
Well, yeah, like even if you think that gay people shouldn't, like, are not ideal at raising kids, and I don't think that, I don't really care.
Right.
It's better than being in this foster care system, objectively.
Oh my God.
So
like the worst in America. You're like 3 or so times likely to end up in the system too after you get out, because all they do is give you a plastic bag and they're like, good luck, kid.
Yeah.
And what is going to happen to all these beautiful, like these teenagers? Oh my God. I made a mistake. I made a mistake of going on the adoption website for my state. And they have little bios, and they're like, I want a mom that watches anime. And I was like, I watch anime. And they're like, I want a sibling. And it's just like, I'm just like crying. It was like 15, 16-year-olds. There was one boy. He's like, I think I do best with a single dad who loves playing Fortnite. And I was like, and I was just like, oh my God, my emotions.
Well, that's why that kid can't get adopted, because they play Fortnite.
That's really why.
Yeah.
But like they know what they want. Like these kids aren't like, they're people. They're real people. Like I was a teenager and you were a teenager, and they're just sitting here waiting.
Yeah. They're waiting, and it's probably never going to happen, which is unfortunate. But it's cheaper to like get a kid from like China than it is to get a fucking kid in the United States. It's incredible.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm looking at my life. You like going back to our earlier conversation about like, should we accept how things are? No. We also have to make moves within the system. So like, will I force myself to work more so I can make more money so I can adopt a kid in America? Yes. Am I frustrated that it's such a pill? Oh, how about this? I have diagnosable borderline and PTSD. And I'm sure they're going to reject me because of that as well. Even though I'm like 2 years clean of triggers, I'm maintaining a living, I'm about to buy a house. I'm like, you know what I mean? It doesn't... In America, has so many weird rules. Like, do you know people with autism? Some of them can't foster in certain states.
Interesting. I guess it makes sense depending on the degree of their autism.
Yes.
You know, it
depends. Totally. But they're like I have friends who are like teachers, or they like work normal people jobs. They work with kids, and they are higher on the spectrum. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting here like, guys, it's not efficient. That's what I'm saying about efficiency. I'm like, if we just cut the fat out in different parts of this, it will be better.
Well, one thing I would say is that when it comes to advocating for change in the system, you kind of have to play in the system, because if you look at somebody like me versus some, you know, let's say he's like a 20-year-old like college student that complains about how if the system is broken, that nobody's going to take that 20-year-old seriously, because they haven't actually lived in the system. Like they've lived in it, but they haven't like lived in it and struggled. But when you see a guy like I used to work, and like I worked a full-time job, and I did a very good job for my company, and they were like taking away my benefits, and I couldn't do anything because there were no jobs that were like decent in the area that were as good, and they had like a stranglehold on me. And so when I talk about how people get like fucked at their jobs, like it's coming from a place where like I worked at a job for like 11 years where I got fucked constantly versus like a 20-year-old who's maybe chilling and they're working at like McDonald's and there's nothing wrong with working there. And they're like, the system's broken. It's like, yeah, but you haven't really experienced what it's like to be in a position where if you did leave your job, you would be like really fucked. Like you can't, like you have to basically just take it up the ass and then realize that your bosses that are screwing you are getting screwed, which is why that they're so frustrated. And it's just like this whole up and down line. And it's, you know, people take people more seriously when they contribute to the system, but then they also advocate for changing it because they've experienced it. So like if you want to make real change, you kind of have to play the game.
Yeah, like I totally agree with you. I think I have a right. Because people ask me, like, Brittany, you haven't been in politics for 3 years. Why do you have any insight into, like, what's been happening? I was like, because I was there. I was working with all these communities. I was in offices with people. I was talking to people who were the heads of things. And they literally were, like, you could see why things weren't moving efficiently. And it goes right back to that. My bosses, my bosses, my bosses. It's like, oh, my gosh. Like, I worked for Kroger for many years. That's what I did. I professionally nannied and I did grocery. And before I did this full time. And one of the things I realized is, I worked my ass off, like for Kroger as an example. Thought, okay, I'll be a deli manager. I'll make so much money a year. I'll make a pretty good living. I'll work in my local community. It'll be fine. I worked my ass off, would work tons of hours. And then they're like, great, you're going to get your raise. It's 14 cents. And I was like, skirt, skirt. Sir,
wow.
I am here 6 days a week. I am here at everyone's sick call. I am literally working my ass off for that money I was promised, which was supposed to be 16 an hour for journeyman pay. Okay. And then they took away journeyman pay, which was supposed to buffer you between your big raise, which was going to be like 25 an hour or something.
Yeah, like deli managers do pretty well, yeah.
They can do pretty well. But you know, the irony is that I quit that job. 2 weeks later, I went to Hawaii, partied with my boyfriend, came home with a job interview for nannying, and within 3 years was making $65K a year being a nanny.
Wow, good for you. Yeah, that's great.
So like, it's kind of like, well, I worked with doubles and I specialize in infants. So you get paid a lot more. You work for affluent families. So I'm sitting here looking at the world and what the world is telling me my options are. And I'm saying, you know what? You're right. In this bubble, if I stayed at Kroger, this would have been my only option.
Yeah.
And then I took a leap of faith and I just like left for 2 weeks, chilled. I also had like no debt. I was paying $400 a month for rent. So I was in a really good position to like take off work.
And
partying in Hawaii.
I see. That's the thing is like I was never in the position where I could just like quit up and quit and go because at the time I was dating somebody who like wasn't working and there's a whole lot of problems there. And you know we had to live, so I was actually doing that and another job at the same time. So I was working like 40 there, and then like I would Uber or I worked at like Five Below for a bit at like stocking and like or like late nights like unpacking shit. So like that's the thing is a lot of people are kind of stuck. Like I had another guy I worked with. He worked there part-time under me because I worked with a lot of part-timers, and then he worked like a full-timer as like a certified forklift operator. So this guy's working 60 hours a week, and like they fucked him over too, but what is he gonna do about it? He's not going to get better.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the problem. There's no alternative. There's no blanket that can really help people be able to make decisions. And that's one of the reasons I am a supporter of universal basic income, because it gives people flexibility and a little bit more bargaining power when it comes to their jobs. Because a lot of times, a lot of the, lack of a better term, like oppression, I guess you'd say, comes from your boss's boss usually trying to save. Like he just wanted to save as much money for his boss so that he could get more money in his paycheck and say like, oh, look, I'm doing a great job. But he was just fucking everybody else over, you know?
Yeah. So. Yeah. Actually, I've been watching like different working environments because I think smaller companies, I'm thinking of 18 plus companies right now that are run by women.
OnlyFans
no, like porn studios.
Okay.
Like if I can I say prawn? Can I say it?
Oh, no, I don't care. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so like actual porn studios. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I found them actually on TikTok. It's women run and they're trying to be much more conscientious about pay, consent, how things move forward. And I do think like this will be it. Like for me, I'm thinking about it the same. Like somebody on my stream today was like, why don't you just hire a secretary? I'm like, oh, do you have an extra 40 grand a year I can pay somebody?
Yeah, it's not that easy.
And like that's the thing. Yeah. I'm a YouTuber. I can't even pay someone to put stupid subtitles on my videos because YouTube won't let me put them on there for some reason.
Oh, really?
So it's like, okay, yeah, like they won't let me put like subtitle options on my videos. I think I don't make enough views. Maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe I don't know why it won't. Okay, I googled it. I tried to find a way. I'm a boomer, so maybe it's me.
I can see that the closed captioning isn't available. That's never heard of that before.
So like I'm so confused because every time I try to go in to put it, they're like, you have to manually input it, and I was like, okay. So then I talked to leftist streamers, and my leftist streamer friend said, yeah, they have to input it, so they have to pay someone per cent per word.
I'm pretty sure they're auto-generated.
That's what I thought, but why can't I do it then? Here,
maybe you might just trigger in the algorithm that you use a lot of bad boy words. You know
Is
what I mean?
that why?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna say it is, but it's possible. You might say a lot of no words, you know, and they
I
might be like,
love this theory.
you know, maybe that's
'Cause,
what it
okay,
is.
like, if you go to your YouTube, creator page and on the far left it says not copyright, it says, where does it say it? Oh my god, doesn't it usually say subtitles somewhere?
Maybe. I
Customization?
don't know. I've never even messed with it, and
Subtitles.
I've had no problem.
So yours just auto generates literally?
Yeah, just auto generates. When you go to anybody's video that it'll work on, click it, and it says auto generated
Yeah.
English. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you didn't have to go to your channel and give permission at any point.
I don't think so. I don't think I
What the
ever did that.
fuck,
Yeah.
bro? It's discrimination. It's because I'm Middle Eastern. I'm a woman. I'm
It's
queer.
Yeah, I think that you pretty much have a good argument there that YouTube is sexist and racist. Yeah.
It's 100% the issue, bro.
I
Like, that's
honestly
exactly what's happening.
I honestly have no idea why. That's the only thing I could think of. YouTube can be a little bit lazy, like
Weird.
sometimes. So
I wonder if that's it. I don't know. Maybe if I hit 100,000 subscribers or whatever, they'll give it to me. But you know what the joke on YouTube is that I've been on YouTube for 12 years. I'll never hit 100,000 subscribers, but like it doesn't matter because I still make a really good living. And I always wonder what that's about. Like, why do certain channels like move forward with subscribers, but then they don't move forward with other? It doesn't matter in the end. Like,
what do you mean they move forward with subscribers but not with other stuff? What do you mean?
Like, I don't know. I can't tell you how many big people I've collabed with, how many like opportunities I've had over the years. And like my channel never reaches over 90,000 subscribers ever in its history. And I always think it's really funny, but the money comes in, the views come in, the patrons come in. And I'm like, I don't understand why this happens. But 30% of my audience is not subscribed who watches me all the time. I don't know why.
I think that's.
I always wonder about that too. Isn't that funny though? Like the way like this, because this job is so weird. Like we could lose it tomorrow if Google went under for some reason.
It's true.
I doubt it.
That's true.
Like I doubt it. You know what I mean? But it is kind of a funny idea, I guess, how it all ends up. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm not mad that the world is the way it is because this is amazing. This is great talking to you. But I also know there are ways to do things better. I just don't know exactly how to make all those things happen realistically.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. That none of us really know how to do that or make it happen in like a realistic sense. Or we don't have we're not uniform enough in our idea, generally speaking. But yeah, I mean, like I don't know. To the thing. I mean, I have like 175,000 subscribers, but like it doesn't really mean anything because most of my videos get like 10% of the views anyway. So like
Isn't that funny?
It's mostly because a lot of people just came from like TikTok and stuff, so like they just subscribed for fun, so they don't really engage. Which is I don't really care because I also do pretty well. I really don't care. I do just fine for myself. So
yeah. I think that's it. I think ultimately that is what like being happy or content or good with life is like finding your niche, sticking in your niche, making your money, and like hanging out with your family and calling it a day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are focused on virality when it comes to making content, but it's not necessary.
For sure.
It's distracting. Like people think that getting like I had a lot of followers on TikTok at one time, like 2.5 million. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't translate very well into anything though. You know, but there are people now. I have like 175,000, and I make a very good living. I don't care. Like it's there's a lot of different factors, but people should focus less on being viral and just focus more on just being consistent. Because you know, if you have like a really hardcore group of people who will watch, if you have 5,000 people, I made another channel like I was saying before, which is bullshit, and like I got a few people, so I got like 2,000 views a video. But if I post like 5 videos a day, because it's a lot of bullshit reaction commentary, like that's like you know you can make money with very few people watching. It's actually very it's surprising.
It's amazing. No, it's amazing. And that's why I fully believe everyone who wants to be a content creator, there's an audience for you if you're meant to be a content creator. Like if you because there's a few things you need, like charisma, but like you also need like just like a good like a pathway, I guess. And that's definitely a mistake I made in my early time of career. Like I wasn't focused on like I'm still bad at the branding stuff. I'm so bad at it.
Oh, being like consistent in like one thing.
No, like, yeah, because over the years I was trying to figure out who I was, and of course, as I changed, my content changed, and so I was never until recently, and I think this is probably the person I'm going to be with. This is my final self form. Like, I feel like this is my your self form. You know,
you've gotten to the point where you're like, okay, I'm like for me, I am at a point now where I think I'm ready to be. I'm ready to hit, you know, because like I'm comfortable as like what I do as a person and like who, because it gets very weird, like trying to compartmentalize like what you want to do, and then you know it's just like a whole lot of shit. But I'm actually comfortable enough now where I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable with the content that I'm making and how I'm making it, and like as a content creator, you get to that point.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it actually, because I was really worried for a long time. People would say like, are you still on YouTube? You're not getting success. You're not making a living. And now I'm making like a living that's like, I mean, I ain't gonna complain, girl with no college degree, I ain't gonna
Yeah.
complain about my living, It's kind of like, this is great.
Mhm.
It feels like a blessing, but I feel like I'm in a neighborhood. Like we're all on YouTube in a neighborhood or on Twitch or whatever. And
Mhm.
we all kind of like live in neighborhoods. And I just live in the nice suburban country neighborhood.
I think people are like a weirdly toxic about though, like what success means on social media in general. Like
Totally.
they put these weird parameters of like what is and isn't successful. And it's like there are people who will blow up in like a month because they just are the right person with the right look and the right sound with the right content at the right time. But most
Yes.
people struggle for years. I've only been doing this for 2 years. I'm very fortunate. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I blew up faster than most people. Most people are fucking digging in the trenches looking for their shit. So, like, people gauge success, I don't know, probably based off how many views you get per video. But, like, what about money? What about, like,
Yeah.
like a loyal fan base? Things like that are very
Yes.
important. Consistency, those are very important. People don't really factor. It's just like if you don't have 1 million subscribers with 1 million viewers a video, you're not successful. It's like, that's actually not most people, you know?
Exactly.
So,
It's kind of like, I also personally don't want to be famous. Like I really like my privacy and I like
yeah.
going to the grocery store in PJs and everyone leaving me alone.
I
You know
know
what I mean?
exactly what you mean. I would like to be rich, but not famous. I
Exactly.
get nervous. I get nervous about people because the other day, yesterday, somebody approached me. I was at Home Depot, and which was a
Mhm.
great interaction. He was just like, "Hey, what's up? Like, you stream, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, awesome to meeting you." He could have asked for a picture; it would have been fine. But then there are some people who like they shit their pants. They're like, "Oh my god, are you Papa Gut?" And they start just fucking. It gets
Yeah.
weird. You know,
Yes.
they like
Yes. Oh,
like I had a guy who was a waiter. He was not the waiter, like the server, the person who seats you at like an Applebee's, and he's like,
oh,
"Oh, you're
yes, yeah.
Papa Gut," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Like, it's nice to meet you. You want a picture?" And he's like, "Yeah, awesome. Quick picture, awesome." That turned into him coming to my table like every 5 minutes while I'm eating, talking to me.
Ugh.
He told me where John Charon lived.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
like, yeah, he's trying to escape everybody. I know where he lives. I'm like, don't. Why would you tell me that?
Yeah,
That's
don't
he's yeah, and
that
then
okay, that neuroses is my biggest fear. Like, because 'cause
yeah.
I've dealt with a stalker fan, and I had to go to court over it. It was, like, a whole thing. She was a
Oh, that
mess.
sucks.
But, like, literally, it sucked, and I sat there, I'm like, "What is this?" It's that
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah.
feeling you're describing, like, that desire to be like, I know I can help
I
you.
know
I'm like,
something.
"Don't help me."
And
Yeah.
then he had me wait so he can call his friend on Discord so that I could talk to him for a minute. And like I'm not trying to be an asshole, so
Oh
I did it.
no.
But like
Yeah.
it
That's, like,
it
innocent. It's almost innocent,
yeah,
right? The
but
way they
it
do
makes
it.
you like feel it makes you feel very jaded. So now like something else will happen where somebody's being reasonable but slightly pushing, and now I'm gonna be more like fuck you because I've been,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It makes me like a worse person. So yeah, that part can suck. So I don't
I
necessarily
think
need to be famous, you know.
I think that's the biggest downside. Like if everyone always asks because I do one-on-one calls. I do YouTube, but my actual like base income is actually made because I do consultations one-on-one with people.
Okay.
And it's great. It's like the coolest thing. It was like my dream to like have access to people on YouTube. And I was like, oh, I'll just do it. So I gave people access to me like on one-on-one. So I do these things. They're great. It's like my highlight. And someone asked me, do you ever get sick of them? And I was like, no. Like as a child, I want to be a radio host. I want to be a talk radio host.
Mhm.
So I was like, this is it. I'm basically doing talk radio, but on YouTube. And it's the greatest thing I've ever done. I would never complain. But the only downside
Mhm.
is the over pushy fans or the people who like just they don't understand. Like the reason I never tell people where I live is because of my stalker. Like she
Yeah.
ruined it. I used to go out all the time with people. People would hit me up and be like, yo, you're in Seattle. You want to get a coffee? I'm like, yeah, I'm right here. Actually, you want to meet me? I don't mind. You're all adults. What do I
Yeah.
care?
Yeah.
Like, let's go have like I was such a hippie about it. And then of course you got fucked over a couple times. You're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, like
Noted.
people know I live in New York, but that's pretty much it. Like it's just
Oh,
not,
really?
yeah, I don't want I don't talk to me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
no, it's
Get the
fun
fuck
if I
out of
see
here.
somebody. I have no problem taking pictures or anything. I think it's fun. But like, don't come fucking looking for me. Like I felt nervous that I
Yeah.
even said I'm going to Disney. It's like, oh fuck, am I gonna find some asshole in Disney? He's gonna
I think about that all the time. Like I usually announce where I am a little bit after I've left it,
yeah,
just for
yeah.
that reason. And at the same time, I know eventually my career hopefully will go in a way where I can do tours and I can see people in real areas because I do talks. Like I do a podcast on like what it means to be a person and introspection and philosophy. It makes sense that my next step in career would be physical spaces. I've done
Yeah,
MythCon,
yeah.
I've done things like that. I've been on stage before, but as a moderator, but like I would love, and it's just like it's weird. One time at VidCon though, I was at VidCon and I hear like there's a talk going on. Like you're all in a warehouse and there's a talk going on, and I hear the loudest, most blood curdling scream, and everyone stops and we're looking, and one of my fans Mine came screaming down the hallway and ran into me. She was like, Brittany. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I understand you're excited.
It's horrifying, yeah.
But oh my God, I was like, do you see how like Ash Hardell and all these people are on stage right now? Okay. You just made everyone stop their speech for this one moment that has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, it looks bad for you too, yeah.
It does. It looks crazy. So I was like, just calmed it down, gave you a hug. I was like, let's go to this corner and talk. They were very sweet. And that's the thing. All these people are so, that's what I mean. I think they're good people.
Yeah.
I think they
have boundary issues.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and they can't imagine it. You know, people email me sometimes for my appointment emails. They'll email me like 5 paragraphs of lecturing about why my work is wrong. And they're like, great, have a good day. And I'm like,
oh, well, I wouldn't even read it.
No, literally, like I'm so curious. So like usually I read them. If the paragraphs are too crazy, I won't read it all the way. But usually I'll read it and I'll go like this. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Just to double check too that they're not lecturing me and then making an appointment. You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
yeah.
You want to pay me to lecture me? I will pay me so you can lecture me. That'd be great. That's a kink right there. But like, don't, come onto it's just humans. It's like humans being, I call it humans gonna human.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't try not to be upset that humans are doing exactly what humans do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I just wouldn't read it. I wouldn't even take their money because I'm too lazy for that. That's fucking obnoxious.
Oh my God.
People reach out. Like, people criticize me on some of my takes, and I have no problem with it. Like, I may disagree, but I don't bother responding anymore because it's not a positive experience. But some people will like DM me and they'll tell me things, and I'm just like I don't respond, but I'm like, why? Like, shut the fuck up. Like, I had some guy tell me that he's been watching my content for a while, and he feels like my content is becoming less genuine. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, I like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I used to watch you a lot. It's like, okay, well, you just don't watch me anymore. Like, okay, you're weird. Yeah.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Did it? Because I have this anxiety as a content creator that if I make a better setup and I look more professional, I'll look like I sold out.
Oh,
Does he think? You know what I'm saying? You know when you start off on YouTube, you kind of know about it.
I think that he just doesn't like that I talk about social issues. Like, I think that's what it comes down to. I think that's really what it is. Because I had a big thing. I had like a big fight with Def Noodles.
I saw some of that, but I'm gonna be real with you. I would love to hear you talk about it, but I know very little bit about Def Noodles. I just know he's associated with H3H3.
This is a journey. I don't like Def Noodles. Like, I genuinely dislike him, and the reason is because this is what like, listen, I'm not a particular fan of like the drama lens on commentary, but it's fine. Like, everybody, like, guys like Rich Lux. Like, I don't know if you know who that. He's a cool guy. Like, he's just like drama YouTubers. They're all cool, but they usually will like talk about things and they'll talk about it in a drama sphere, and usually it's fun. When you get into like more serious issues though, and you carry that drama lens, you're ruining the conversation. So a little bit of a TLDR. I don't know if you know who the B family are. They're like
I've heard of them, but I don't know them.
They're like 10 million followers on YouTube. Yeah, and they've like started on Vine. They're like this big family. And the brother was playing Roblox, and he would have listen. Video game people are very toxic, and he would interact with another kid named Killick, which was a young guy on he would also play Roblox. He's a streamer. He's a smaller content creator on YouTube. And they would have interactions where they would get together. They weren't like friends, but they were very toxic. So they get together, they talk shit about each other, they would troll each other in games. It was all that. And what happened was Killick at one point, they were in a Discord on a roasting session, and he started roasting the kid and talking about how he wanted to fuck his mom and about how his sister was like a porn star getting gangbanged, right?
Ooh, classic.
So which is pretty classic. And so that blew up. It's a huge thing where the B family, they were like, my daughter's only 16 or 15, and you're a grown man. You're 19 years old. You're a grown man talking like sexual about kids. It's not the other thing. And so like there's absolutely a conversation to have about how it's very normalized to be sexist in video game spaces, which needs to stop. And the call out in general is positive. The problem is that they called him a rapist, a pedophile, and a predator. And they also got his age wrong. He was like 17. And after they got his age wrong, they continued to call him a grown man, even though they acknowledged that he was. And like the information was available. It said he was like 16 on his Twitter. It said he was 17 on his Instagram. And so there's a big problem with one, just a complete prescription of a punishment by calling him a rapist, pedophile, predator. They also said that he came from like a bad family life, and there was a lot of racial undertones to it as well because he's black. There was a lot of things. There was like a lot. It's hard to express unless you watch the video, but a lot of it came off as like racially motivated. And so my thing is like I called it out. I talked about how like the young man had to obviously correct his attitude, but unfortunately this is very normalized. She didn't hear it specifically until it blew up. So like he's not being a pedophile, he's just being like a shitty kid. And
for sure,
it's an overprescription. But then also I think that like intentionally maturing black kids just to overprescribe punishment, there's also a conversation about there. And that was my thing where I feel they actually were being racist, but like I said, can't necessarily prove it. I mean, that's how racism works now. It's like, oh, well, I don't like you because of these factors, but you're generally being more, I guess enforcing because, they're black and there's like a lot of subconscious bias and stuff. So I called that out. And then, the general narrative, though, is that like you have this young 15-year-old girl. The parents put her on camera to cry, which I think which I think is horrible because I think that
those family channels are crazy.
Yeah,
though.
like if you wanted to protect your daughter, you would have just not talked about it in this specific sense because nobody saw it until.
Totally.
So you could have just been like a general, like, hey, this is a bad thing that happened to my daughter, not be specific. But they wanted to deplatform him. They said they'd chase him across platforms, et cetera, et cetera. They wanted to really hurt this kid.
Oh my gosh!
And then they put her on
teenager.
Yeah, and then they put him. Then they put her on the camera in another video to have her cry and be like, "This grown man attacked me." Right, and like to her credit, she probably thinks that like this is very valid because her parents are like, you need to be upset. Like it feels very much like the parents like loaded her up to feel very upset. So the parents are the irresponsible party.
Do you think they're being genuine, or do you think they're doing it for clout, for real?
I think that they are popular, so they think that like any small grievance to them is something that they can talk about. Like everybody has problems. Everybody has an issue. Like yesterday I went to Taco Bell and they fucked my order up. And so like I could, if I really wanted to, I could go on social media and be like, this Taco Bell fucked up my order. And like, would it have a massive impact? No. But imagine I had 10 million followers and I called out Taco Bell for fucking up my order because some asshole just fucking.
That'd be so shitty. That'd be so shitty of you, like to call out a fast food restaurant. Like people get people's orders wrong, guys.
Because then they would fire those people. That's what I'm saying. So but that's what I mean. Is like that's what I think it is. I think that they feel because they're popular, they know that whatever they say is going to carry a lot of weight, and they could hurt people. So like everybody has minor grievances happen to them, but they want to overreact because they have the power to. And I think that's what it was. But Def Noodles talked about it in a way where he reinforced the narrative that the kid was like a predator and a pedophile, etc., and that he did a wrong thing. And I criticized it. I called it out. I was like, you're being very dishonest about your presentation. That blew up into him not even acknowledging my argument, to an extent calling me somebody like enjoys like children getting hurt or something. It was really fucked up considering I've done a lot to deplatform predators.
Oh my gosh.
It was a really dishonest interpretation of what I said that devolved into like this thing. We had a whole conversation. And like, yeah, I forget exactly what we're talking about. I think but I had that interaction with him because we're having, he just never acknowledged like the argument I was trying to say. It devolved into this huge thing, and I think that he's dishonest. I will say why. I don't remember exactly why we got into this topic because I rambled so much though.
It's okay, but it's perfect because the thing I like about you, the thing I've noticed in your work that made me want to reach out to you initially was that you seemed really like you were open to criticizing people, but you wanted to accurately criticize them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to tell you, like, I think that is so wonderful to see because I have gotten exhausted over these spaces, especially since I'm in like the Vosh Black, like Hassan debate space a lot. It's very like, we're all trying to do something good, quote unquote, like whatever that means.
Yeah.
But we're obviously all coming at it with a lot of bias. And I don't know if people know, because I love H3H3. I watch everything Ethan does, like I love them. But I hold a lot of criticism for his takes because he has a tendency, like Def Noodles did, to do this thing where he just goes, this person is this way, then he's this way. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like it's like if somebody has something reasonable to criticize, then it's okay to criticize them to any degree. It's like, hey, you stole a candy bar, well, you get the death sentence. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And people will do a wrong thing, and then they'll get called out, and it'll be over the top. The call out will be like an overprescription of what they actually did. And then when you like, hey, this is too much, they'll be like, well, he did do something wrong. And it's like, holy shit, like be a person. Like as if those people criticizing them are completely free of criticism. Like, we all fuck up and make mistakes. So it's Yeah, I don't like that either. It bothers me. So like I usually try to come at it in like a reasonable perspective. So
Yeah.
that's one
Okay.
of the
Going
things.
back to the very start of the conversation where I
Yes.
asked you about existence, this is the part of existence that exhausts me. I just like
What's that?
don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like with Modern Warrior, even looking at him, like when people were like, "Oh, he's like a rapist," I was like, "Whoa, okay." You see how we were having fun to finally like
Yeah.
holding him accountable, and then you went and ruined the fun because now I can't. Now I don't want to do that. Like that's not
Well,
what he
yeah,
did.
that's
He
what
just
happens, and it makes people disengage from the conversation of reasonable criticism, and then he gets away with it because that's what, and
exactly.
that's what's and at this point he's just denying that he ever did anything wrong. He's like,
Which
oh, but
such
it
a
was,
technique on his point.
which is
Such a
wrong.
technique.
Yeah, it's wrong because there was another girl who came forward. She's like, yeah, he did this to me too. It was like really shitty. It wasn't sexual assault, but it was shitty. Like, and he's a fuckboy.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, and people need to understand that. Like, listen, if it was another person who wasn't like holding himself to this really high standard of like respecting women, it wouldn't be as bad because you're not being morally dysfunctional, I guess you'd say. Modern Warrior is somebody who
Yes.
constantly will talk about like how you should like. There's a guy named Max Taylor on TikTok. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know Max.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. Like we've talked a little bit.
The red Max who has muscles.
Yeah, he has a big butt. He's nice.
I love him. I love him. Yeah, he's so sweet.
He made a joke that was a play off of someone else's joke. A girl made a joke about how like, oh, she's gonna wear the leggings joke. Yeah, she's like, oh, I'm gonna wear leggings and then pretend I don't want the attention. And then Max made a similar joke, and then Modern Warrior's like, that's like you're
misogyny for me,
it's a
Max.
misogyny and like the whole virtue signal. Yeah.
Modern Warrior.
It's a joke, and then meanwhile, Modern Warrior will take advantage of not take advantage. I don't want to use like wrong term, but he'll take advantage of women. He'll be like manipulative a little bit
of his positioning.
Yeah.
He takes advantage of Max. I said this on my stream about Max in Modern Warrior because my brother loves Max. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm talking to generations that like watch Max. I watch Max. I watch Lean Beef Patty. Like I'm looking at all these people that they're associated with. I'm like, I know who Max is. He's a 20-year-old, whatever guy on TikTok who has stupid Gen Z humor like my brother. They're just a bunch of fuckboys who like anime and hot muscle girls. Yeah. They're just sweet boys who don't want to. I don't feel threatened by Max, like because he's like a kid. Like what's he gonna do? I'm gonna model it for him, and he's gonna sit down and listen to me. But Modern Warrior, I am less apt to hang out with because I'm like, oh, but you have a game, bro. Like I know what your game is.
Yeah,
like your game is to make women feel like because he disarms women around him, so they feel safer. Then they like give and like Chelsea's crazy, by the way, the white lady with the weird accent.
Oh yeah,
that's like unhinged, right? Like that's she might. Just like crazy eyes, the whole "I'm pregnant with your baby" maybe.
Well,
if
if you've seen some of the stuff she put out before this whole interaction happened, I don't even know why he had sex with her because like she was a walking red flag. I don't know what you're doing.
When he made that, he made a clip, where he's in the car, like talking about being called the N-word, and she's just like, "This is Max, and I love him." And I'm like, "Oh my god, lady!" And the way she moves her mouth, I'm just like, "Girl, what is up?" And I get it. He's a guy. He's probably been like a loser his whole life, and he's finally on the internet, and he's hot now because like I think he's attractive, like in a leftist
Modern
way.
Warrior?
Modern Warrior.
Okay, yeah,
sure.
Sure.
Max is attractive in a bodybuilder way. Everyone like they're honing in on their
sure. And then he's getting like a lot of it.
He's
getting a lot of attention, and then like he's like, oh, I have a new dating pool, and like I know when I say good things about women, they like me more. But there's no actual foundation on that belief. It's like he
doesn't have conviction.
Yeah, he doesn't actually care.
There's no like actual passion about your beliefs. Like when I say I've never cheated, it's because literally it never needed. It's so against my values that I don't even understand. And I did poly for 10 years. I'm monogamish now, but I did poly for like 10 years.
Right.
And I'm a little bit of a hoe. So, I try to keep the door open for fun with, whoever I might be with. But anyways, so when I did poly, it was the same thing where I was like, let's negotiate, let's talk it through, let's everybody meet, everybody's in the same room, nobody's a secret, because I didn't like the idea of this guy, which I met a lot of in poly communities. I met a lot of Modern Warriors.
Yeah.
They'd come in, say the right things, seduce all the girls into bed or guys. And then everyone would find out, oh my God, you're fucking all of us and you didn't tell us. Like, why are we having unprotected sex? And that's the other thing too. Why is Chelsea having unprotected sex, period, the end, unless she's gotten STI testings and vasectomy and IUDs?
I think that what it sounds like is I think that she wanted to get pregnant. I think that she wanted to get pregnant by Modern Warrior. She is very unhinged. It sounded like she really just wanted him to get her pregnant to have his baby. Like
a colonized baby, bro. Taking one for the team, though.
Yeah,
that's crazy. But it looks so bad. Like as a native, you don't want to get with a rich white woman. It looks bad. You want to get with like a poor like black girl, Middle Eastern girl who's kind of like, what I mean. You don't want to get with. You know, you
I
gotta
guess
play the cards
so.
right.
Yeah, I guess so. You have to maintain the oppression Olympics. I mean,
But
personally, I don't think I don't care about that. He did say that he wants to have sex with white girls, but he does not want to have a baby with white women. He specifically has come out and said that.
oh, I
Like
love that for him.
yeah,
Wow.
no, so good
That's a
for him.
statement. Am I white? Do you think he'd consider me white? I mean, I do have
You're
100% foreign blood.
you're white. Yeah, you would be considered white by most people, I think.
Oh, ruining
Yeah,
it
is
for
that
me.
yeah, I'm
POC
sorry.
erasure. POC erasure.
Well, at this point, a lot of people just look at somebody and go like, yeah, they look white. That's kind of
That's
how I
true.
think that's how really race works nowadays. I don't think it's as deep anymore. Like nobody's like, oh, where are you from? Like if they look at
What's
you
your
like, oh,
background?
you're probably white. Yeah. You know?
No, 100 actually.
Yeah.
Are you like totally white? Or are you secret Cuban like
I'm pretty
Destiny
sure.
is?
I'm pretty sure that. Thankfully, I'm 100% white. I think.
Okay.
So I'm just-
Thankfully.
I think. I think I have some. I have like a decent amount of ethnic Jew in me, but
Ooh.
yeah. It's from my father's
Very
side.
good.
So
There you go.
I know, but outside that, it's mostly like German and like that fucking German kind of shit like that. So
Yeah. So wait, you and Max have made contact. Is he like a sweet young Gen Z boy like I think he is, who like, works out and has like edgy humor?
yeah, Max is from what I've talked to him, Max is a really nice guy. I don't think that he takes his fame like seriously in the aspect that like he doesn't think he's better than people.
Mm.
And I think he's a little bit spiritual. I know that sounds so weird.
Ooh,
Like
I love that for him.
when Modern Warrior was getting called out, like he was like I knew like a lot of like references to like karma, and he knew it would come back on him, and like so he's a really nice guy. I think he actually has native blood in him as well, or indigenous blood in him too.
Shut up.
I think his mom is indigenous. Yeah,
Modern Warrior over here just jealous because his cousin is more famous on TikTok.
Yeah, basically. Well, yeah, definitely. Now I think Modern Warrior lost like several hundreds of thousands of followers. And
I'm not surprised, honestly. Well, that's the problem is I think, and look, I've been mini canceled by the left at one point because my stalker was really convincing. It was really interesting how good she was at like, she's disabled and she looks by choice, and she looks like,
she's disabled by
feeble.
choice, is that what you said?
Yeah, she has I think she has that. I'm one of like 12 victims, so it's like a whole case. I was like on Chris Hansen about it. It was a mess.
Wow.
It was such a hot mess. Do not Google. But the point is like she came into my life asking for help. And then I went to go meet her for lunch, and I found her to be crazy. So I was like, no. And I was like, bad juju, like, you've made this your life. Like, it's too, when you have too many sad stories, you're like, oh, I feel like you're too young to have this many sad stories.
Most people, they'll have like a reasonable foundation for a problem, and then they'll use it as a base to say all their problems are valid. Yeah, I've dated somebody like that before. Yeah, it's horrible.
It's a lie. I never knew what she... Go ahead.
No, if you fall for it, it's horrible.
Yes.
It's very manipulative scenario. Yeah, it's really fucked up.
Well, and the worst part is like it was everyone around me, like my ex at the time, like all my friends, they're like, what could she do? She seems harmless. I was like, there's something wrong with her.
Yep.
And then bam, 5 or 4 years later, whatever it was, years later, I'm in court with her. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then you try you try your best to help people like that. And then it takes a lot to realize that they don't want help. They just want you to do things for you. Like for them. They just want the attention, and they don't want to actually work for themselves, and it puts you in a really fucked up scenario.
Well, even to this day, she was honestly like, I wish she was more introspective. She could have gotten really famous off it. She went on like Onision's channel to talk about it and chose like her side of the internet, which was really funny. Like she tried, but I was like, girl, if you're going to go against me, you don't go on Onision's channel. You go, because he's a predator. You go on a non-predator's channel, and I almost wanted to help her like
who's
overtake
left
me.
at this point? Who's left? What's a non-predator channel that's even left at this point?
Stop it right now. Do you remember when the Me Too movement was happening? Stephen Colbert made that joke. He's like, I think Tom Hanks might be the only good person left in Hollywood. I was like, does that mean you're not a good man?
Yeah, right. Yeah. It seems
What
like a
does
lot.
that
There seems to be an
mean?
association with like scummy behavior and being famous on the internet. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
I don't know what happens. I think, I will say, I like the way you said it earlier, where you said you and your wife are just chilling, you live at home. I almost do trust those YouTubers more, where I'm like, we just sit at home all day. We're truly introverts or extroverted introverts who stay at home. We know how to interact on the internet, but like, I'm not trying to be in people's drama. You know what I mean? I'm trying to avoid it. If anything, I'm exhausted. I'm old, but it is what it is. I think it also like I can't deny it. The amount of money that comes in through drama is insane, bro.
Yes, it is. It is a lot. It's
Holy
crazy.
shit.
Yeah, that's why people talk. Well, they talk about it and then they sensationalize it. Like I remember when I was on TikTok and I would do commentary. Like a lot of people. This is mostly how people's commentary works. It's like they have really genuine commentary on stuff. Usually it's reasonable and usually it's very grounded. That's how people start, and then as you make more commentary, you kind of get lost in the sauce, right? Your whole sphere tends to be like you're looking for your big story. So you will dramatize, you over sensationalize another story that's not really it's comparable, but the energy isn't there, and then you'll just run with it, and then you become a very dishonest content creator, and then you just stop caring, because if you're getting positive feedback when you're saying, hey, somebody that's 19 sexting with a 17-year-old, that's a predator, then you're just gonna go, hey, that's a predator, you know, like the whole Call Me Carson thing. So
exactly. Hey, what did you think about that? Did you cover it?
Yeah, I shit on Keemstar. He cried about it.
Oh, Keem, so dramatic. I've never seen a more dramatic man than in my whole life.
He was very upset by my coverage of the Call Me Carson situation.
Why? What side was he on?
He's the one who sensationalized it. He's the one who did.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I know that, but like I don't remember because like I don't follow Keem.
Keemstar. The way that he presented the story was that like an adult was sexting a minor. He didn't give the ages out of either one of them. He sensationalized it, and then when I was like very adamant against him, and then he was like bitching on someone's podcast or something at one point. And he was like, I forget exactly what he said, but he was complaining because like, I was just reporting the news. And it's like, no, you weren't. You were intentionally withholding information of the ages so that people would think that like, because when I hear the word adult, that's anywhere from 18 to 100 and dead, you know? So you got to pick one age if I had to pick one age between that of what I would say is an adult, I'd say 30. For a child, 1 to 17. What's the one, if you had to pick one of those, an age there, I'd say 13. Right, so like when you say adult child, I think most people are like, yeah, 13 and 30. It was 17 and 19. It's like shut the fuck. I wouldn't even consider. Same. I consider a 19-year-old legally an adult, but I don't think a 19-year-old's emotionally an adult at all.
Right. Totally.
They're fucking dumb. They're 19. You know what I mean? And I was dumb at 19 too. So you know, that was the biggest. I mean, that was insane. And I think the problem is that the people on the drama side loved covering it and calling him a fucking predator, and then everyone else didn't really bother with it because it's like, this is preposterous. Who cares?
Yeah, you know, I just did a podcast on it, and some people were upset, but mostly because I kind of, I think the issue is like when you're a hoe, when you're allosexual, when you actually like want to get boned and you fall in love and you meet people on the internet and you're kind of a nerd or not a nerd or whatever, I think like messy sexual situations just happen. I know a lot of people are expecting everything to go perfect, but I'm gonna be real with you. As a mini hoe, I just don't see that being true. Like, even no matter how much I negotiated, no matter how many times I had contracts, how many times I've, safe words, everything, something goes wrong, someone feels violated, everything's a mess, emotions get involved, someone gets jealous, all of a sudden we're fighting, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then we have Carson, who's just kind of a goober. You know what I mean?
I remember reading all of the messages they exchanged, not just the one that girl cut up and put up. And it was consensual and incredibly cringy, but it wasn't really a problem. It was typical of what I would expect from two young people awkwardly sexting with each other.
Totally.
Like he didn't say like, I'm famous, so if you don't show me your pussy, I'm gonna ruin your life. He's just he actually seemed to have feelings for. He was cringe, but like, and then people took it. The whole thing is fucking crazy. Like and it's so diminishing of like actual like assault survivors, because it's like, how the fuck is this guy a predator?
100%. And I try it hard. I have like a really unorthodox or orthodox, I don't know, my assault story is pretty basic, but like at the same time it's one of those things where I feel like I think about it, and even now I think about it very unorthodox, so I don't want to get triggered here. But like I just think about like life happens and these things happen, and there is a spectrum to the violence that's happening. There is like a literal spectrum, and then on top of that there is just like a leg room for really naive people to make mistakes. Because I know when I was younger, and I'm not disregarding like all the awful things that happen, but like when I was younger, it was really common for my girlfriends who were like 16, 15, 16 to have boyfriends who were like 20, 25 sometimes.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, this is a lot of stuff that it's because in order to talk about this the right way, you have to, people could look at you like, for what you're saying before, like there's a spectrum of like sexual assault, and it's not to diminish anybody who's been sexually assaulted, but like, for instance, people would consider what happened to me sexual assault. Now I wouldn't. What
happened to you?
Nothing crazy. Like, I used to have a gay friend, and he would constantly touch my like fucking dick, and like I would ask him to stop. I would say he's harassing the shit out of me. But people nowadays consider that like very loaded, and they put it in the same sphere, and they'll say that has the same energy as being like violently assaulted. And it's like, there is a spectrum. And then something that you touched on a little bit is like the unfortunate aspect of unintentional sexual assault, which is something that's the entire foundation of sexual assault of rape culture, is that a lot of people, usually young men, put women in situations where they don't feel comfortable, and they consent they're just so that they feel like they don't get harmed. I mean, it's like all these little things, and
Mhm.
that's the entire foundation. It's like these little things like, oh yeah, guy picks a girl up, they go on it, he picks a girl from their house, they go out to dinner, he pays for dinner, they go back to his house, and then they, you know, he makes moves and she says no, and then he continues to make moves and be persistent, and then eventually she submits, and it's like, well, you know, especially for young men, well, what's the problem there? Well, one, you picked her up from her house, so she has no way to leave. You paid for dinner, and while she doesn't think that she's entitled or owes you sex, you might think that you're entitled to sex now. And since you're being so pushy, she gets like the signal that like, oh, well, he picked me up and he paid, so now he, like, if I don't have sex with him, he might hurt me. You brought her back to your house, so you're in a very unsafe environment. That's like the majority, I think, of like sexual assault culture. And like it happens. I've heard so many women say that like I was sexually assaulted, but I know that the person who did it wasn't a bad guy. And that's really fucked up. That's such a fucked up thing to think, because they're like, I know he didn't mean it. That's so horrible to be empathetic to, and that people don't like hearing that because it makes them uncomfortable. But that's the sad reality.
I'm impressed you brought that up, because it's true. I do, like I said, the one-on-one calls, and I have like countless men and women who come to me with these crazy stories, and they're like, that was rape, right? I was like, actually, technically, yeah, it totally was. How do you feel about that? They're like, I just don't like to think of them as like a bad person, because I swear it was rape, but it wasn't rape in there. It's not how they processed it. You know? And I think that's it's so difficult. And I think that's like, can I be honest though? I feel like that's also what's beautiful about life and existing is like, holy shit, guys, like something that should be so black and white has so much gray. And that's what makes life so complicated.
Yeah. There's a lot, there's a lot going on there. And that's the whole foundation. And then what you're saying before about like younger girls do like older guys. Oh, and when you say that, people are like, oh, so you think it's okay? I don't think it's okay. I think older people in general should know better. And I know that those like 25-year-old guys talking to 16-year-old girls, I know that they're looking at those girls and saying, I could easily fuck this person. Like they're young and they're very easy to manipulate, and I can have sex with them.
Oh yeah.
And then those girls are like, he thinks I'm so mature, and he's like, no, he doesn't. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those things where it's like I don't necessarily think it's consensual, but it's like willingness to it.
Yeah.
And so
there's a willingness.
It's so sorry for going on a tangent, but it's such an interesting thing because nowadays there's a lot of interactions between 16-year-olds and 20-year-olds, 20-year-old guys usually and 16-year-old girls. And I think it's inappropriate. But a lot of people who are like my age have been girls at like 16 who've talked to 20-year-old guys, and they're like, I didn't know it was wrong at the time, but now that I'm older, I realize it was wrong, but I don't have a trauma from it. What's happening is young people aren't experiencing it. Right. Good. It's good. But like young girls aren't experiencing that. So they think it's traumatic.
Yes.
And it's like, it's hard to have the conversation in a way. It's like, yeah, the guy's shitty and it's wrong, but it's not necessarily a trauma, but it's really inappropriate, especially if they're like 25. I mean, that guy's a piece of shit. And then it's another conversation.
You're also really stupid sometimes too. Have you ever met a man who's 25 and you're like, bro, you should date high schoolers. You're retarded. Like, bro.
I know what you mean. It's one of those things too where like people don't want to talk about this either. A lot of people in society, it's acceptable as long as the girl like looks old enough. Who cares what the age of consent is? And it's incredibly inappropriate because the way you look has no impact on like how developed your brain is. But like people don't realize that this is very normal and that like guys are gross. Like the men, men think this way. You know, it's
you heard it here, folks.
Yeah,
guys are gross.
Guys are gross. it's true. So there's a lot going on there. It's just like really fucked up. Just a whole fucking thing. But I didn't mean to cut you off before you were going on. You were talking about your
I loved it. No, I love it. Go on as many tangents as you want. And the audience, I kind of see the chat a little bit, guys, but not too much. And you guys, positive reinforcement. They like us. It's good.
That's good. I try not to.
They like this conversation.
I try not to read chats during conversations just in case they're mean to me. You know.
No, oh my God, stop it right now. So like, okay, I love this because I feel like these are the conversations that I'm dying for people just to say aloud when having this discourse. Like, guys, I understand politically on a billboard, in a tweet, none of this is going to be able to be really talked about.
Yeah, you can't say any of this on Twitter. Like
oh my God.
Like what? There was a person on Twitter who said something along the lines of like non-offending pedophiles should be like granted access to something, and then if you disagree, like you're a bad person. They said it in an inflammatory way. So oh shit, I think she disappeared.
I did. I'm here.
Okay, they said it in like an inflammatory way, and people are like, "Oh my God, you're disgusting! Like you support pedophiles." Are you still there? Oh shit, I think she disappeared. I think she died. Right on the pedophile tangent. What a fucking shame.
I did it. Sorry. I'm a boomer.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm here. I was trying to look something up.
No, it's okay.
stupid. Okay, go ahead. You're
All right, so it
go.
was a tweet where somebody was like in a really antagonistic way talked about how like we should be more accepting of pedophiles. And nobody's going to listen to that because it's stupid. But like
Right.
I do understand that like people who have attractions to children don't choose to have that attraction, and then as long as they haven't hurt somebody, like they should get access to mental health counseling, because the reality is if you allow that, more of them will come forward to get help before they commit the act.
Yes.
But you can't
Yes.
put that in a tweet. But this is the
No.
problem. You can't have a nuanced conversation in a fucking tweet. It's much easier to just say something like stupid and virtue signal. And like, unfortunately, I think that some people do virtue signal about, you know, child molestation. They're like, it's bad. It's like, yeah, it is bad. And it's uncomfortable to be more accepting of pedophiles who haven't offended. But the reality is if you create that space for them to come forward, you're going to see less children getting molested. So like
I think so.
It's a net
And that-
positive. And also I don't have to be more accepting, just the therapist. So I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You know what I mean?
actually, okay. So I'm super. This subject matter makes me like my mom brain goes like I'm gonna kill all of them. Like I'm just gonna murder, mass murder, genocide. Let's go. And then I remember.
Yeah, that's where I was too. Like very like recently. Yeah.
But I want to be more introspective about it, and I want to be more calm about it. And I've also dealt with people who have come to me and reached out. So my rule is like, you can make a call with me. I will listen to you. I will never report you because like technically I hope to never get someone that I'd have to report. But the point is like I'm trying to actually just have discourse with people and have a conversation. And one of the things I do appreciate is when people come to me and say, I have thoughts. And I'm like, talk to me about the thoughts. And usually it's about bestiality, which is kind of funny to me. People got weird bestiality thoughts. And I'm like, okay, this also makes me uncomfortable, but less uncomfortable than kid thoughts.
Because it's a dog. It's not a person. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, but still
or
awkward.
a horse. I don't know.
Or an eel.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
There's a lot. I've seen way
Jesus
too much
Christ.
eel porn in my life. People will be into weird things. So, okay, I'm like sitting here trying to like humanize them. Dr. Lindsay Doe, she does sex health and sex education on YouTube. Do you know who that is by any chance?
I don't know who that.
She's fabulous. She rolls in like the like sex ed part of YouTube.
Okay.
And she talks about this. She actually promoted a website that is supposed to help get counseling to people with the predisposition for prepubescent children specifically to get help before they offend or so they never offend. And I would rather live in a society that efficiently helps people because I'm telling you right now, I do thank the universe every day that I didn't have this because if it's really a predisposition, could you imagine the nightmare of living with that? Like, I think I would. Give me borderline every day, all day. I have borderline. I'll take that.
Yeah, that'll
you know
fuck
what I
you
mean?
up. Yep, it'll.
Yeah, but I'll take a personality disorder over. You know what I just can't imagine.
yeah, absolutely. No, it is unfortunate. It's so weird to be empathetic towards people that are attracted to children, but it is really unfortunate those people they don't choose it and then they get like obviously shit on by society, and I understand it.
Of course. Absolutely,
because like
especially if they offend.
Well, if they offend, I just don't care. They can.
Yeah, at that point, it's like okay, well,
fuck.
Right,
I personally, I'm like, I couldn't be a supporter of like capital punishment in some instances.
I am a supporter of capital punishment.
But it's one of those things where it's like, at the end of the day, I want kids to be safe, and if you if you allow people to come forward first, because it's easier to stop somebody from doing a bad thing versus somebody doing a bad thing and then stopping that behavior. Because once you cross that line, it's like you're kind of there.
I've read that. I've read that pedophiles who have offended said that it was 100 times, not literally, but I'm exaggerating, way worse after they offended.
Yeah, it's like anything. It's like anything. It's like gambling. If you have a genetic predisposition to gamble, if you're like, let's say your dad is a gambler, it's easier for you as a son to never gamble than than the dad is to get him to stop gambling. I think a lot of people who have addictions in some capacity, unfortunately, the success rate of getting rid of that addiction is very low. I think part of it is because we have like Alcoholics Anonymous is very centralized around like religion, and I don't think that it really works unless you maintain a religious environment, which is not reasonable for everybody.
Spirituality, though, really, it's just a person bigger than yourself.
Yeah, I know. I think that there's probably more effective ways to do that, but then also I think that some people, I think that people are also just kind of it's very difficult to get them out of a behavior once they're into that behavior.
Totally,
yeah.
Discipline. It's difficult. Like that's what I'm saying. My heart like it's very hard. I live in small rural towns in America. I love us, but we're drug and we're just like theft and rape infested. It's just how it goes. Like they're bored, people don't know what to do. The other, like when I moved here 3 years ago or something like that, a trailer blew up like 30 miles from my house, and I was like, what the hell was that? And it blew up because the guys were like cooking drugs in it, and it blew up on them. And like I'm just laughing because I'm like, that's nobody got hurt, so it's kind of funny because you're like, oh my god, it's funny you walked away from your drugs for a second and it blew up. And then it's just like, and nobody cares though. Nobody like, it's just kind of normal. Like you're out in the middle of the boonies, you have nothing going on, you're not hurting anyone, you're just kind of doing meth a little bit, you know, whatever. And it's just kind of funny, but like that's what happens. And so I understand how people go from one area to another, and they end up in like different, you know, different pathways.
Yeah.
You know, so it just makes sense to me. But the pedophile thing is so difficult. Have you seen Mr. Girl at all?
I've seen some of his stuff. Yeah, I see. I haven't gotten too into it. The song wasn't bad, personally. Yeah. It was actually a very well produced.
I'm a pedophile. It was kind of a beat.
It was a little like, but it seems. Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff. I haven't seen a lot of it. From what I've seen, though, he has a lot of conversations about pedophilia, which is very uncomfortable to me. Like, I understand talking about it, but to make it your flagship is very interesting to me, because it suggests that he possibly has like an attraction, and I don't know specifically. But like, obviously, yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. I understand why, especially when you specifically talk about it. It's like, I think it's a harsh, in defense of conversation, and I don't think that it requires that much attention. Part of me feels like maybe it's part of me feels like it's possibly done in a sense because it is very controversial and it is a view drawer. I'm not saying I don't know him well enough to make these absolute prescriptions, but like based on like the way, you know, that's just how I kind of feel about it. I don't think it's like an unreasonable assertion to make. So yeah, I think it's something to talk about when it's relevant to talk about it, but it feels like, you know, to centralize your content, nobody's really going to listen to that person at that point.
Yeah,
because they're going to think you're a pedophile
guy.
Yeah, you're usually you're less likely to listen to. We were talking about before. Presentation matters. You're less likely to listen to a pedophile about pedophile issues than you are to somebody who just like has an understanding.
Which is kind of funny. Because you think we wanted it right from the source. I think I've been researching him. We have a possible collab planned in a couple months, so fingers crossed. But the thing about his work that I love is that I do think that it's mostly coming from the trauma he has with his mother. But the thing that's cool about it is that I feel drawn to people who want to say their inside thoughts outside.
Yeah, that's fair. I understand that.
You know, I am drawn to those people. And at the same time, I made this whole thing on like, is Mr. Girl a real person or a fake person? Is he performative? Is he not? But like, the truth is kind of like all of it, but the most authentic performative person I've ever seen. And that's really strange. Okay. Like that dichotomy between like, what is like, my brain wants to do this. Like my brain doesn't trust itself. Yeah. Same with the pedophile who claims, I don't want to hurt children. I just imagine fucking them. You're like, ooh, sir.
It's a hot take. I think that the cancellations he gets are generally unwarranted. For me, he makes me uncomfortable, so I disengage. Yeah. Because I don't think that he's harmful. It's just very uncomfortable.
Agree.
So I'm like, yeah, I'd rather just not really consume this individual. I think a lot of people feel like them being uncomfortable about a topic means that topic shouldn't exist, and so they try to cancel people like that. And like for the most part, you can disengage if somebody's not like necessarily unsafe. You just like, I don't want to consume this content. So that's kind of what I do.
Reasonable. Yeah. That's like a very reasonable take. Do you know you're being reasonable right now, or are you performing reasonability?
Am I performing reasonable? No. I'm being like, I've been there too, where I've said shit that people don't like, and like they'll be like, "Oh, you're a terrible person." It's like, well, I'm not. You'll just disengage. Like if you really don't, I'm not trying to be reasonable. I just am like more reasonable. You know, I don't even think I'm reasonable. I think I'm normal. I think most people in the real world are like me, and it's just like nobody sees it on the internet.
Honestly, I gotta be real. I do find that most of the people, I will say I don't, so I'm not one of the, I'm not a streamer in the sense that like, I stream twice a week and I do 3 hours, which by the way, my spoons are dwindling. They always, at the 3 hour mark, I'm usually hangry and I'm going to kick you off my stream so I can go eat, you know? So just so you know for timing, and let me know if you need to leave before that, please.
Oh no, it's totally fine. If I gotta go early, I'll just say like, hey, I gotta go. But
perfect. So like this is like interesting to me because wait, spoons streaming. Oh, my real life is majority of my life.
Yeah.
I thought online stuff isn't real. This is real. But like I'm also censoring myself. I'm like, don't say this word, don't talk like this, don't touch your boobs, do all this, be neutral, don't pick your nose. Like I'm thinking of all the things I shouldn't do right now, right? Versus when this computer is off. Oh my God, I'm just like in my house, in my sweats, joking with my brothers, playing video games, relaxing and smoking, doing whatever I'm going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And I feel like that is so interesting between content creator to content creator. I think some people like Destiny who streams like 12, 10, 8 hours a day. Like
I can never do
majority of his. Yeah. Oh my God. I would get exhausted. So wait, how often do you stream then?
Like I will typically stream most days for like 3 or 4 hours. And then if I just don't want to, if I
great.
just don't want to stream, I just don't stream. Like I don't care. Like I didn't stream
Oh.
yesterday. I just didn't care. I don't have a consistent schedule. I mostly stream. I have like a small streamer audience that'll like hang out, and then I make my content for YouTube. That's where like my views are. That's where like the majority of my like views and my money comes from. So, you know, it's more casual here. I have a nice like close knit set of people who interact with me in the chat. And it's enough to be able to read their chat and to talk to them. So I actually like having the smaller streamer thing.
Yeah.
And then they'll give me information when I'm talking about a topic too. It's like there's been times where they're like, Papa got this, that, and it actually helps a lot. But then I put it onto YouTube. So
I rely heavily on my audience correcting my misinformation for sure.
It's very helpful, actually.
Yes.
There's like a lot of moments where they're like, you miss, like I might miss a word. It happened. Like I think that studies say like after you've engaged with a topic for 40 or anything for 45 minutes mentally, you check out. So like I might be at the end of a segment and I might miss a massive amount of content. It could be like 3 words. That is all the context. And then like you missed this. I'm like, oh fuck, you know, because you get burned out. You do get burned out.
Totally.
You get better at it, but you get burnt out.
No, I love that. I feel like this conversation is such a good gateway for the audience to know like what the streamer is thinking too. Because I do constantly worry about like, hey, get this right. Like yesterday, I never stream at night. It's not a thing I do. But yesterday, I was just like, you know what? I have to research Brittany Renner. I don't want to do this alone. I'm just going to stream and like watch the videos and play video games and like figure it out. Yeah. So I did that last night for like 3 hours. It was fantastic. I didn't even know 200 people were going to be awake at nighttime watching me. Like that was so
surprising,
great.
Isn't it?
I was like hanging out with friends, bro. And I'm sitting there listening to the stream. And it was so great to have to do the research. Because yeah, before I talk about something, I try to watch at least 10 hours of the subject matter. It's like my rule. I feel like 10 hours is like a disgusting amount of time to be able to talk about it on a podcast. And like, that's a 10-hour day. That's a full day of work. Just me watching streams of people that I'm like, I don't even respect this. Like, you know, I just have to watch it. It's so frustrating. So it's so nice to be on stream to do it. So interesting. I always love how different people make money doing what we do because you can do it in so many ways.
Yeah, I personally, I just watch content live and I do like live reactions to it. Like there's topics that I'm like usually. Like I think I have a reasonable amount of education on like social issues, so I'll watch a video and like I'll be fresh to that person, and then I'll like interpret their words and like we'll have like the whole thing. Like there was like Illuminati, for instance. He's like a guy. I don't know if you know who he is, but he called like Aiden Ross like Gaiden Ross because Aiden Ross makes gay jokes, and so like that turns into there's an LGBTQ conspiracy to feminize men, and that's why women won't fuck me. Which I've heard it before. You hear that kind of shit all the time. Yeah. It's like this. It's really just like this woke ideology, like anti-gay woke ideology that like feminine men are ruining society, and it usually comes from men who women don't want to fuck because they just don't respect women. So you know what I mean? It's usually those guys.
Wait. So feminine? Because like, is Lance a feminine man? Because I think he is.
Maybe he might be a feminine man. I mean, I guess it depends on what your idea of femininity is. Yeah.
I guess it does.
You know, everybody has a different interpretation of what femininity and masculinity is to an extent.
Are you a feminine man?
I would say no. Like I'm a guy. I take like pride in my masculinity, but I guess a lot of my moral values come from is like my identification as a man. But I don't put that onto other men. Like I don't look down on other men if they're not as masculine as me or if they don't have the same ideology. I think that as long as somebody has a good moral framework, regardless of what is rooted in, I don't care. Like there are people with religion as their moral framework, and they're fine as long as you aren't like a piece of shit. So, would I consider Lance feminine? Probably, yeah. He's got like the longer hair, and he looks like a lesbian.
He doesn't have a beard.
He doesn't have a beard. Yeah, that's like the.
I don't. Yeah, unless you have a beard, I'm not even going to consider you for masculine.
Yeah,
that's my
there you
rule.
go. There, he doesn't have a beard. But yeah, I'd consider him feminine. Fuck, what were we talking about? I just totally blacked out.
Everything. That's why
I know.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. We got a super chat that I want to respect. It's like from nothing. Love that. Steph Noodles did apologize and corrected himself. So weird, Papa saying he did not recognize anything. Yeah, but did because I saw like.
Well, I could answer that. It's one of those. So I understand what he's saying. He started off the stream by just saying I'm sorry for whatever, and then wouldn't let me engage in like why he was sorry. There was no. I don't genuinely believe there was any depth to his apology. And this is me giving him like a tremendous of the benefit of the doubt through the entire thing. I'm more perceptive than Death Noodles. I'm not trying to be an asshole. He was very disrespectful through his entire engagement. And then even after that even like in that conversation, he apologized. And then when we tried to talk about what I was frustrated with, which was like the way he misrepresented the situation and then the way that he tried to deplatform me, he was like, I already said I'm sorry. Why are you talking about it? Like he didn't. You can't be truly sorry for
yeah.
something if you can't explain why you're sorry for something. So everybody can give very shallow apologies, but like if you can't give a genuine apology for what you're doing wrong, then like it's not genuine. I don't think that he was being genuine in his apology. So like, you know.
Well, it's like the Lance conundrum, guys. You can say all you want, but if your actions and your attitude don't follow through, I'm not sure if I believe that it's impacted you. Okay, look, you ever had like, do you do drugs at all? Do you ever have an ego death?
Oh no, I'm not a big. I mean, I've greened out like once.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not a
So,
big
like,
drug guy. Yeah.
when people come to me and they're like, I had an ego death, I'm like, oh, really? Like something, for me, that means like something shifts in your life. Like you have a moment of realization. So the next day or the following months, I feel like it should change you. So if someone says, I apologize for this thing I did,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a way to know, like in your family. Again, when you're watching YouTubers, I just imagine if this was my brother and he was bullshitting me about an apology, I would know.
Yeah.
You know?
It's one of those things. And it's also like, there's also the factor of, especially people who are very sensitive to their audience, which is most content creators. If they say you're doing a bad thing, you'll be like, sorry, as a reaction.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'll just continue to have the behavior you think is wrong until I actually change my mind. You know what I mean? Like I just don't care anymore, you know?
No, I
So,
feel
you
that
know.
way with even the words I use. Like people are always coming on my channel. They're like, "I'm so surprised you use that word, Brittany," and I'm like, "I'm surprised you're surprised. I'm surprised. Like, why are we all surprised? Like, I'm a person. What did you think I was? Like some version of a fantasy you put in your head, and therefore I didn't follow. Like, I need you to understand. I do move with conviction. I move within my value system, and I have a job. So if my boss tells me YouTube not to say certain things, I don't care. I don't care about like censorship and stuff. I mean, I would rather have a world not censored, obviously, but at the same time, I'm not going to fight all of Google because they don't want me to say a slur. Like, okay, I won't say the F word, bro. I get it. I don't care that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it ever comes to that. But I think some people, I don't know. I think I'm very adaptable and I'm very open to how people want to operate. It's a private business, however they want to do it. I'm lucky to be here. I will never not be grateful for YouTube. It's amazing.
Yeah,
What
it's
would I
cool.
do without it?
I like YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, like what would I do without it? I have no idea. Like I just can't even. I don't know if people could process that I make a living online as much as I'm processing it because I'm not. You work enough jobs outside of the internet and you realize, holy shit, like I will do whatever it takes to stay here because it is so nice.
Yeah, it's much better being a content creator than it is working I call it a real job. You know, like I mean,
I call it a real job too.
This is
so funny.
this is not a real job to me. Like it's fantastic. The most difficult part of doing this is to have to pay my taxes independently.
Bro, that's 100% the worst part.
I just finally signed up for like the federal and the state online, so I could pay online.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yep.
One day I'll be responsible and actually do quarterly taxes, but I tend to use that money throughout the year for other things.
What do you do? Just pay at the end of the year?
Yeah, I just like do it with my account. I have an appointment with her on the 4th. I'm gonna go over there. She's gonna be like, "Hey, you owe this much." I'm gonna write the check and be like, "Here you go."
I think they might ask for a little more. I think that they give you a fine for it. It's like a percentage of your pay. That's why I do it quarterly.
That's smart. See,
yeah.
Okay, I'll be real with you. I am not. Paperwork exhausts me. Tell me to cut down a tree, take out the garbage. I'll be the best husband you've ever had. Tell me to do paperwork, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do it.
What do you have an issue like estimating your taxes or signing up for the website?
That one, like literally, girl.
Yeah.
You're talking to a girl who has a lump in her breast, and I need to go get a mammogram done again because I get it done.
You probably should, yeah.
I have procrastinated over 2 years, and I already have gotten it done. That's my brain. My brain's like, I'll worry about that later. I'm having fun over here.
It's not that difficult if you want me to try to help you out one day. Like I can.
No, stop. Everyone always operates.
It's not that.
Everyone. I know it's not. I know. My mom, everyone in my life. I'm like, please, okay, I will just let me.
You can do it online. It takes like 5 minutes to set up, and then you just pay online every quarter. It's not that hard, you know. And then like I have the marginal tax bracket too. So if you wanted to estimate based off the tax, yeah. I have.
Gosh, you guys are so helpful. Stop! I hate helpful people. You guys are the worst.
And then if you overpay, you just get the money back at the end of the year anyway. That's how I like to look at it. I like to overpay, and then I get a chunk back, and I'm like, I didn't know I had it. So then I use that for like I'll save it or something. So that's usually.
I've overpaid a couple of times, and it's always been really nice. But everyone, let me tell you what I like about. Okay, so I don't collab normally. This month has been the most collabs I've done my whole 12 years on YouTube. And I don't know what happened. It's just the energy is good. And I reached out to all the people that I like in the world, and you were one of them, and you said yes, which was, beautiful. And I love this moment. Everyone has been so helpful, and I don't know why. I have just like managed to bring in the nicest people for the last month. But everyone, Destiny, Melina, everyone's like, Brittany, you should do this. And I promise you, like, you'll get this. And I'm like, stop. Oh my God, stop. I'm overwhelmed. You are all so nice.
The tax is really overwhelming,
It's such a blessing though. It's like it is such a blessing. I'm so I don't know, I feel really good about just like this moment in general, but knowing there's like I think I need this back on YouTube because I left politics on YouTube because there
Yeah.
was no good like there was no healthy, not good, healthy.
Yeah, I
Just
think
like no,
so
you
similar. Like
know?
once Trump was out of office, I think that
Oh,
interest
bro.
kind of went down in like talk. Like for me, like once Trump got out of office, I was like, my interest in politics kind of like dwindled, but I still like social
Mm,
issues. I've always liked social issues, and I've
yeah,
had conversations about
same.
that. So like I kind of went like that was like the weirdest discovery. Like, what do I want to do now? And like I finally got to a point where like I stopped caring about what I made. I would make so much content at one point. I would just make like 5 videos a day on whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And then I saw what stuck and what didn't, and then like I just kind of was like, okay, people tend to like this more. Let's talk about this, and then that's kind of how I got here. Now I just like to like either watch bullshit videos for fun, or we'll usually watch like something drama wise and have like a real world slash like socially educated perspective on it. So now I'm very comfortable. I'm ready to be popular now. Okay, guys,
Ready.
I'm ready for your
Actually,
money.
I thank the universe every day that none of my because I made a million views here or there along the years. I knew a lot of like popular YouTubers, and my channel never blew up. And honestly, I
Mhm.
think it was because I wasn't ready. Like not to be so woo woo or like fatalist about
I
it, but
know
like
what you mean. Yeah.
like I think this is because oh my god, the cringe I've been on the internet. Like I'm so glad 1,000 of my videos are privated, so no one has to deal with that cringe. But like I was really testing the waters, like trying to figure out who I was as a person. And now I'm pretty sure, like I said, I think this might be my final form for a long time. And then
Yeah.
I'll of course be a different 40-year-old and 50-year-old and 60-year-old. But for now, I think this is probably like I think I've solidified my belief systems and my
I know
values enough to be
exactly
like,
what you're
okay,
saying. I feel the same way. Like
yeah,
I got to a point where like, like I got to a point where I'm comfortable with what I'm saying now and like how I'm expressing myself to be like I think I'm fortunate that like on YouTube I didn't really blow up because I've had some like obviously everybody has takes that aren't like great.
totally. Yeah.
And like, you like to be ready to defend your take, and even if it's a bad one, I feel like I'm at the point now where like I could get questioned on anything. I could be like, yeah, this, and this, for sure. So like, I agree with you
Yeah, I
there.
think so
It
too. That's
feels
exactly
at
it.
the right spot. Where it feels like we're in the right area.
Oh my gosh, which I think is just also hitting your 30s too. Like my 20s was such a great learning tool for me that I
Yeah,
feel like okay, in my 30s I feel much more confident and I'm much more humble than I was in my 20s.
yeah, that's a big part of it too. Yeah,
Oh, huge
I
part of it.
agree.
Oh, the universe was like, "Do you think you're a big shot?" At the knees. And I was like, "Oh, got it."
Yeah,
It was really I
it'll
needed
humble
it.
you. It's okay though. I prefer the character growth over like the maintenance of being like super popular. So like
Oh my gosh, 1000%. The anxiety I would have. Though I did appreciate. Do you roll on the Joe Rogan Mr. Beast side of YouTube?
Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Oh, I just
Mr.
didn't know that
Beast?
those two were in the same sphere. I was just
Right, they recently did a collab together, so
oh,
either sphere,
I
so
didn't know that. Yeah, I guess so a little
yes,
bit. Sure, I was just thrown off. I was like, confused. Okay,
yeah. No, Mr. Beast, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it was such a
wow.
nice podcast, and it was so I'm still only halfway through it, but as I've been listening to it, one of the things that I've really appreciated was, like, I can't remember Mr. Beast's first name for some reason, but, like, whatever his name is, he does this thing where he's 23, he's done this whole thing, he's like, he has a desire, he puts all his money back into his channel, and he's like, "Look, I don't need anything. Like, in my normal life, I'm
Mhm.
not one of those YouTubers who has, like, a mansion and a Lamborghini and, like, all these things, which is fine, but it just seems like a
Even if
waste, I
he
think,
did,
then
it wouldn't even matter.
even if he did, it wouldn't matter. He has like a Tesla and stuff, but I understand what he's trying to say because it's true. Like some of my YouTube friends, they're like yachts and famous things and bikini girls, which I'm all about. I love that. Let me come visit. I want to be on your yacht, but I don't want a yacht myself, nor do I want that
Yeah, no, me neither.
lifestyle. You know what I
I want a
mean?
nice house that's safe and like an affordable car. Like I would never get like a Mustang. I have a Kia Soul, and if I had another car, it
Nice.
would be like a mid-size SUV. I don't want to. I know what you mean. Yeah, he's a nice guy. He seems to actually give a shit, and he does don't. He donates his money, unlike
Yeah.
some other popular leftist streamers that don't seem to do the correct thing with their money or what would
Who we
be
talking shit about? Who we talking shit about?
just in general. Just
Okay.
just generally, it would be good if like people who would talk about the struggling middle class and had a lot of access to resources would like lead by example, because I find it very frustrating.
Oh yeah.
I find it frustrating as somebody who worked as like, and I still am middle class, but somebody who worked shit jobs it's annoying when people who never really had to struggle and never had to work like a real job. And when I say real job, it's not about the job you're working, it's about the life stressors that impact you.
Yes.
Like if you're a teenager working at McDonald's, you're not working a real job. If you're a 30-year-old working at McDonald's, that's a real job because you're working for it to support your family versus working there just because you just like your dad said get a job. So
Totally.
like there's people who have never experienced real work, like work with actual like impact on it, who talk about middle class issues, and then the second they get into like an influential space, they just don't seem to do anything with the money other than just to try to get more. I find it to be shitty.
Or buy mansions, like the people who buy mansions in LA and sports cars, you mean?
Yeah. Like, listen, have the mansion in the sports car, but like if you're so adamant about worker co-ops, try a worker co-op or find somebody to invest in that does worker co-ops. Like, you know, that's not a bad idea. Find somebody that's like, yeah, we'll pay everybody a percentage of the profit plus a wage.
Yeah. I got you.
So why not invest in that? You know?
Well, I think that like I always like to say that people, it's like, okay, it's like the person earlier who told me like, oh, just get a secretary. It's like, sir, I want to get a secretary ethically and not pay them $6 an hour. So like I have to pay them a good amount of money. I have an editor already who helps me part-time because I can part-time afford him. And like that's the thing. And even then, like it's like I don't know if people understand. And oh, by the way, I have to talk to my tax girl because I have to figure out how to properly pay my editor without the IRS getting mad at me. Like,
oh yeah, because you have to pay him. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Either a 1099, which means I have to provide the 1099, or a W-2, which I don't have a company.
Do you have to do that? Like, do you have to provide a 1099 to them?
If in the state of where I am, I have to provide a 1099, or he can run it where like I don't know if he needs to make it where he has a business and I'm just paying him as a service.
Yeah,
that would be. I don't know. I have to talk to my accountant, and I didn't think about that shit before I wanted to hire him. So now I'm like, oh my god, hold on. I have to think about what I'm doing, and like, there's just paperwork that goes into these things.
It gets a little. It gets difficult to do the right thing because it's so. Yeah. And then I tried to ask my tax like I last year. I was like, can I give you money to pay my taxes? And they're like, I have no idea how to do that. And I was like, you're H&R Block. How do you not know how to do that? And then I paid that. It's like, oh, do you want to enroll in our quarterly taxes thing for $100 for all small businesses? I was like, yes. I did it. And I was like, okay, how do we do it? And she's like, I don't know. You're gonna have to go to a different H&R Block. So that's been a fucking struggle. So
or even finding a private accountant. I mean, my brother uses one for his business, but it's like $6,000 a year.
Yeah, no, not
to like just for him to do all his payroll and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, see, thankfully I have no payroll, so you know, I do. My editing is very limited. It's mostly just where's my stop, where's my start, and then I make my own thumbnails, which can be a lot because there's sometimes I'll release a lot of content, but like
thumbnails are hard.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm so bad at like people are always like, Brittany, make better thumbnails. I was like, you know what? This is
just don't even care anymore. Like I try to be really simple. Like this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm talking about, and like whatever. You get the point. And then I think they're decent enough. They're fine.
I mean, people watch, right? People know who Papa Gut is, so it's working.
Yeah, exactly. They're okay. They're good enough. I figure
they're gonna survive.
It's like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the content is the content. 20% is like the presentation. So I'm doing well on the content. I just better presentation. And if I do well enough, I'll pay somebody to do presentation for me. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
So, but like right now, people respond so much more to like quality content. Like people would rather see. I use webcam still. I don't use like a fucking DSLR camera. How many smaller Twitch streamers are there that are using DSLR cameras with like the fucking LGBTQ lighting? You know what I mean? They got
yes.
And they're not doing well because no offense to them, but they're probably not particularly interesting. People would rather watch the fucking horribly lit room with a webcam if they're engaged in the content, if it's interesting to them. You know what I mean?
What's that joke on the internet? It's always the ones in 248p or HP or whatever they call it. Like it's always the grainy ass videos. It's always the cell phone videos are the best.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know what you're
I
saying.
agree. No, Shoe on Ahead still films with like a 70-20 whatever, 720 whatever you say webcam. It's like the shittiest webcam ever. Like I love it though because my friend he tried to be on Twitch and he spent like $4,000 on a setup and I was like, why?
Wow.
And he's like, I was like, I'm a YouTuber. My computer's a $600 old computer my ex-boyfriend built for me. And I was like, why are you spending that much?
If you have the money, I mean, you could write it off. So
he did not have the money. He did not have the money, boo boo. So that's the problem. So then he didn't get popular on Twitch, and he asked me why. And I said, honestly, can I be real with you?
Yeah, you shouldn't do that because you can't write it off in your taxes. Then
you can't write it off in your taxes. Like now he's just like a minimum wage worker who just spent this money that he barely had as it was. And like the thing is, like he's dedicated. He Twitches like all the time.
Well,
but like
that's probably his issue. How much did he do Twitch? Like how many
He
hours a
does
day?
it every night, like every night through the night.
Like for how
Like
many hours?
6, 8
Yeah,
hours
see,
maybe.
that's I think the problem is those big Twitch streamers that stream 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, they can. You can't. Like or he can't.
Exactly.
Stream
Like
for
he
2 or
has a
3 hours.
full-time job. That's the thing. He's a full-time job, and
Well,
like
it's not
the
just
hours
that.
enough.
It's like you're better off like if I don't know what he does, like video games, is that what he does? You're better off playing for like 2 to 3 hours a night and then working on like clipping in your stuff. Like if you stream for 2 hours a night playing a game and then you found like a silly moment on it and you threw it up on YouTube or TikTok, you're better off with that. It's like marketing. And then like people like Asmongold and all them, they have people who make all their content. They just talk about, they do stuff on stream. Somebody else cuts it up, puts it on their channel. They make free money. You don't have that. You know what I mean? It's a small streamer. So
That's
you have to do
my
that
goal.
yourself.
One day, my goal is to pay an editor to sit and watch all my streams, take out all the funny moments you think I'd like, and do it yourself instead of, because right now I pick them. So I just tell my editor, I'm like, hey, this section to this section, I really liked it. I thought it was funny. Pin this for me, send me the video. It saves me tons of time because I make much more hourly when I do my calls. That's the thing is I'm trying to like move my income like this, but it's like a juggling act of getting someone who knows my shit and knows my vibe, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. I just make my own video. If somebody decided to do a clips thing, I would just do your thing. I don't care. Like that's free advertising for me. And if it makes you money, good for you. You know what I mean?
I think that's a good point though. I think my friend doesn't do that at all. He's not on YouTube. He's not on TikTok. He's not Twitch. He's not clipping.
You're not gonna get famous on Twitch by streaming on Twitch. You know what I mean? Like it's not, their algorithm isn't TikTok. As much as I'm not a particular fan of the platform, is probably the best platform to get attention because it's very like the average video is probably like 10 seconds. The average watch time is like 50 minutes a day per person that's on there. And so you might have 10 creators that you love, and let's say they all release one video a day at 10 seconds. Well, that's 100 seconds worth of content. Now you got to fill out the other 48 minutes and change. So you'll see a lot of bullshit that nobody cares about necessarily. So you'll see a lot of underdogs, and that's how you're like, oh, look at this, I liked this, you know, as you're just numbing your brain. And then people will potentially go to YouTube or even follow your Twitch stream, and then that's the best way to do it, is really marketing yourself. So you're better off spending like less time streaming, more time advertising until you get bigger, and then you can stream more. It's a job though. People want to stream. Yeah, people want to stream because they like streaming, and that's great. But like, it's a job now. If you want to make it a job, you can't do what you like, unfortunately. You know.
Okay, so going back to the idea of it not being a real job, this is the job part of the job, though.
Yeah.
This is the part that is exhausting and tedious because you're not having fun streaming. You're editing and you're posting and you're branding and you're clipping the right words and like, oh my god, I put out a tweet with a misspelled word. Now I have to delete it and like redo it, or maybe not, depending on my mood. And so that's the only part of this job too that I think is like the most tedious, is like the paperwork, the filling out the right. You know, sometimes I'm in the mood to edit, but most of the time I just want to stream and go to bed.
How much do you edit? Because I personally, I do like, it's mostly stop-start times. I just like, this is where I want to start, and then I just throw it up. I don't really do a whole lot of editing.
Those are easy. I do a podcast weekly though on YouTube, and it's edited for the most part because like I am usually the podcasts are a lot heavier, and I'm talking about really like
so you want to make sure that people
I try to be very careful with my streams. Everybody knows my streams are live. I'm gonna fuck up. I'm not gonna be as well researched. I'm not gonna spend 10 hours. So when I do a video, I try very hard to like, okay, Brittany, you've put 20 hours of research in this video. Could be the only video anyone ever sees of you. So make sure that
I know exactly what I mean. Yeah, see, I don't do that, so I'm fortunate.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. First of all, I want to say, hold on, I want to read this super chat because I want people to know I see them. Hi, Destiny girl, I see you. Gaming streamers are basically cam models. Now, perhaps gamer bros can see sex workers isn't just easy money. It takes marketing, consistency, and niche. What do you think about that?
What about specifically like sex
cam
work?
models, sex workers, like, because I do consider it the same as well. I do OnlyFans. Like, I'm a big fan of sex work in general. I'm a big proponent.
Yeah,
people's right to do what they want, and so I think of Twitch the same way. Where I'm like, yeah, you're on cam. And you're like selling yourself basically, and then you're asking for money. This is like the same to me.
So like, I just want to narrow the question out. Like specifically, what are we asking? Like, what's the my interpretation that gamers are the same as sex workers in some capacity? Is that the basic question?
Yeah, like streamers and stuff. Do you think like they're kind of similar as like cam models and stuff?
I think that they're similar, but I think that streaming is probably easier, or it's less stressful. So like, there's something that is probably can be very stressful for some people to constantly like engage in sex work. I think that it can be like it can feel a little demeaning.
Totally.
Yeah, and then that can fuck you up. When it comes to gaming, you can get to a similar aspect of that too, but for the most part, I don't think it's the same stressor. You're not like relegated to a specific category, and you don't feel demeaned. I mean, there are people who play games they don't like just for the sake of it. But yeah, but like, you know, I think that
emotional labor. Don't you guys do a lot of emotional labor? I feel like I do on YouTube and I do on like sex
well,
work
but
stuff.
most I think the sex worker is probably more emotional labor than like sitting around playing Elden Ring. You know what I mean? Like it's a different thing. I mean, I can see where they're similar. I think that sex work is probably more difficult, at least mentally, definitely for sure.
It was for me. Like I did cam work for a little while just to try it. I hated it the most because it was like the amount of emotional labor and like looking cute 24/7. Too much work. And like I prefer photos and like nice cute elf videos. I'm like a very ethereal like kind of content creator. I like to be goofy. Yeah. So like I prefer those because you can edit them once again, but it's more work. It's more time consuming. So instead of just going on cam and streaming, now I have to edit and I have to do photo and lighting and costume, and then I have to, you know, do all this thing. So I understand for that reason it's more convenient to just like stream, make a lot of money, go home.
It's much nicer. I think that, you know, you gotta take the easy. Listen, I'm one of those people who's like, I've always been a take the easy way out kind of guy, but like in the right way. Like when I worked for my job, like I wasn't like I was a hard worker, but I also like being lazy. So you figure out, so you create systems of efficiency that are easy for you, but they you know, they give you the same outcome or better outcome, and that's what I would do. You know what I mean? So like that's what you got to do. Yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, I think when I use the word efficiency, what I'm really trying to say is like, how do I be lazy and not be lazy?
Yeah, that's what how can you be lazy while providing the best product? Everything is like just having nicer chairs for truck drivers is a way to like have a more efficient process. It's not necessarily lazy, but you know, that's what it is. Like factories, you know, when we have or automated things, those are lazy or they're more efficient. I mean, that has a whole conversation about, you know, the displacement of jobs and whatnot. But you know, yeah, life is about being as lazy as possible the right way. People don't like to look at it like that, but that's what everybody does. Everybody is trying to be as lazy as possible in the correct way, and like a way that still produces a solid outcome at their job. That's all.
Yes,
that's really
I am
what it
here
is.
for that.
No.
New super chat thanks to you from Destiny. Girl Destiny says, agreed. I like this guy. I do bet female streamers have more difficulties similar to cam work because of the reasons he mentioned. Love it.
Yeah. Well, that's I know women like me. I gotta keep saying nice things about girls.
You need to say more. Yeah, you should not call him Modern Warrior and say I counsel him.
Well, it's interesting because it's because I've been thinking about it too. About like when it comes to sex work. It's because with that whole thing before, we're talking about the whole Killick thing and the sexual harassment with the B family and stuff. And I mean, like that's one of the problems I feel like too is that a lot of people will bitch about how women have it easy when it comes to making content, especially attractive women, because it is easier usually as like an attractive woman to make content, but then you're relegated to like what's the space that you're relegated to being sexualized. So it's like, yeah, it's easier, but then, you know, there's a lot of times you're not really respected in a way that you have range. So you're usually just like a titty streamer, or people are looking at you and being sexual.
I don't have the patience.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I thought about that. Do you know, before I chose this line, I thought, okay, Brittany, do you want to be a hot cosplay girl with big boobs, or do you want to be a philosopher? And that's what I did. I looked and I was like, what kind of an audience do I want to cater to? And honestly, queer girls and women and like people who are more introspective is more my vibe every day.
Yeah.
So that's what I gave my attention to.
It's more difficult in general. And then it comes to like who's relaying the information. Like for instance, like if you're having conversations about actual like sexual assault culture, a lot of, especially people who need to hear it, young men, they don't really want to listen to girls, and they don't want to listen to guys they consider that are feminine. So it's one of those things where like you might be speaking the truth, but like until a masculine guy says it, a lot of times young men just don't give a fuck. And that's like I like to think that like that's the only positive thing I'm doing. Like people look at me and they're like, okay, that's a guy. Like that's not like a, you know.
Yeah.
I'm saying the same thing you are, but you know, the presentation, it's this better presentation there, you know?
I think that's just so human too. Yeah. Like I definitely, you know, I prefer to listen to certain people or certain vibes, hear it from certain people. I think that's just so human. And I like that you're aware of that. Because honestly, like I said, I did this collab. I don't know your audience. I'm sure they're fucking lovely. I'm sure they're really great.
Okay. They're okay. Yeah.
But I also, I'm not here to poach your audience, because like maybe your audience doesn't want to hear from me. Maybe you know what I mean? Like I think that's reasonable to some extent, that they'd want to hear from someone they can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Yeah. But it's one of those things where like if my voice was higher, I probably wouldn't have the same following. You know what I mean? Like imagine I had like a squeaky voice. Yeah, it's like all these little things that can have like a profound impact on the way that you just your ability to do anything. Like just having a nice voice is like a big deal, you know?
I really, honestly, I gotta pee and I gotta eat something. So we're coming to the end here.
That's fine.
Which is
perfect. Pee too, yeah.
Perfect. So what I want to do is first of all, thank you for your like this collab, because like bro, your energy is so good.
It was fun, yeah.
Good. I'm so glad you're so like you're so just like a person. I love it. Like you're so
Yeah, isn't that weird?
so
Like this,
I believe you.
the internet standards have been set so low that if you just act like a person, like people praise you for it. Isn't it? It's
I
incredible.
am. Gold star. Gold
I
star. I love that.
know.
Is there anything you want to say to my audience? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to let them know where to find you or anything like that?
I mean, like you can just Google Papa Guy, whatever. You know what I mean? Like I have nothing to really. I don't really have a lot to say. I'm not a good advertiser. I'm not a good advertiser.
Oh no, me neither.
You
Just
can
like
say whatever
Google
you'd
Brain
like.
Google, Papa Gut. This has been great, guys. I am so happy you guys recommended Papa Gut to me, and I'm so glad that I've stumbled across your content and heard your hot takes because they have been hot, and we have enjoyed them here on this channel for sure. In the future, if you ever want to talk again, please reach out. Otherwise, yeah, I hope you have a wonderful freaking week.
You too. I appreciated hanging out. It was a lot of fun. The conversation was good.
I'm so glad. All right, have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.